Nick Bruce from Wisecrackers. And look, we've done this since October, Ricky? Is that when we started? October last year?
Since we actually started recording episodes, yeah, I guess.
Yes, that was the question.
Maybe. I don't know. 2024? Yeah. Well, I didn't know if
October.
we started, you meant we started this, will they, won't they?
No, that
will
was
they
ago.
smooch, will they not smooch?
Yeah. I stopped numbering them when I upload them, so there's truly no way of knowing how many of these we've done. But I think it's every week since October of 2024. We went a long time with no guests.
Math
and
nobody
then
can do.
Like a couple that's just been together for a long time looking to spice things up. Last week we brought Nick Bruce in. This week we got Patrick Holbert. Patrick, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be your unicorn today. I'm really honored. I didn't
Patrick
know you guys were
Holbert,
unicorn hunters.
You're a comedian. That's how I know you. You also we hired a sitter for this. Is that the podcast you do?
Yeah, that's the podcast. Yep. Thank you.
I confused the title of yours with Abby Crutchfield and Luke Thayer's.
Oh, I don't know theirs. What is theirs?
Something.
Oh my God! Did you hear that?
School.
Such a fucking liar. He's like, oh, what? This other podcast that's like ours that we didn't completely rip off and spend time being like, how can we capitalize in this much more successful podcast?
Because it's
liar,
both
Patrick.
the premise is well, we have children, but to be able to do this, we need to somehow get the children out of the room. So I think theirs is the kids in school or something. I forget.
While the kids away, maybe
something like that.
Let me see that. Let me see. Now I got to research it. I hope you're
oh yeah. Now I gotta, because I didn't have this multi-plan when we were ripping off theirs. I don't have it everywhere.
I've actually had Luke on the podcast, on our podcast.
He's great,
and it's I think it's
God. You rubbed his nose in it. You stole their podcast, and then you're like, "Come on my podcast, you dirty little cuck."
I think he's the one who power moved me because I put it on YouTube, and it's my most viewed episode because Luke has an actual following, and people want to know what he's doing out there.
Glasses.
So,
proving their show is better than yours. That's, I mean,
yes.
I
like to do this. I like to berate the
guest.
I don't know why. This is wonderful. We just met.
Too.
We just met, and I feel like you're my high school bully. So
yeah, I just bring people on the show so Ricky can be mean to them for no reason, I guess.
Actually, Glenn has all this pented up aggression, and he knows that if he lets me off the chain, the dog, he can't do it. He's like, "You do it.
I can't do it." But if
we are actually it. Glenn and I are id and ego. We'll say what the other ones won't say.
Well, I'm in a perpetual, my perpetual goal is ego deflation, and it's working. You've made me feel like a little person, and I'm right at home. Yeah. This is great. Their podcast is called The Kid Is in School podcast.
That's what it is.
Okay.
So we got to shout them out. But yeah, Luke is great. Abby's great. And I'm honored that you had me on. Thank you.
Oh,
nice
course.
to be here. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for having podcast. Thank you for having kids and doing comedy and not thinking that you could no longer do comedy because some goo came out your dick hole.
Oh yeah, well, Ricky is very mad. I don't know if you follow the stand-up subreddit.
I do.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about there's a guy on there who's like, "Hey, we had a kid. I've had some success as a comedian, but now that
I've done some arena tours,
I'm worried. Do I have to just go buy a farm upstate?" And so we were like, but he ended it basically asking comedians who are dads, does this feeling go away? What's the move here? And I saw it right before we signed on to do the episode. So I was like, "Oh, Ricky, I think this guy's asking us specifically as comedian dads."
I mean, it's a great topic.
Yeah, and then Ricky just got unreasonably angry with this man.
Well, that subreddit is total. I mean, Reddit in general is not a hotbed of mental health, and that one specifically brings out all of the armchair experts and know-it-alls, and somebody will give this long, profound essay of an answer to something, and they're like, "Yeah, I just say that because I've been doing it for 3 months, and I know what you guys should do."
I always describe it as r/standup on Reddit is a great way for professional comedians to find out what open micers think of their work.
Yeah, totally.
It is. There's I think there's just different levels depending on where you are in a career of what is genuinely helpful. Where I think if you're starting out, that feels like a good place to get some basic ass advice from people who've been doing it slightly longer than you.
Yeah.
But
or you can see how bleak the future gets. Like you can be Doug Stanhope and post in there like, hey, I have a couple empty nights on this part of the month next week or next month or whatever. Can somebody help me out? When I see that, I'm like, wait, fucking Doug Stanhope is on here like trying to cobble together a little run. Like, does it not ever get easier? Or I mean, that just might be a sign of his chaotic nature, but it's kind of cool that
both
he's
are
on
true.
there. He's lurking,
I think you're right, Glenn, of like, I think it's, I'm not a big Reddit user, but having dipped my toes into it or seeing a few things here and there, I think it's great for new comedians because as we've discussed, the delusional nature of everybody who does stand up, who can stand in front of a mic and is just like, I'm going to be funny and I deserve to be the focus right now. It's great to go to a place like Reddit where there is no filter of opinions. Like everyone's just going to say 100% impulse of what they're thinking, which rarely happens because no one, like a complete sociopath or the worst delusional people starting off doing stand-up, they will pull you aside and tell you immediately what they're thinking. Like the third time you're doing a bar show with them, they're just like, hey man, I think that one joke, you need to come at it this way. And it's like, hey man, there's a football game on 20 different TVs right now and no one was listening. I was just getting through some time.
Yeah. Do you with the subreddit, are you guys on there anonymously? Because I'm like, you're able to click through my username to see who exactly I am. And so that makes me more careful about how I chime into things.
I'm just at Glenn Tickle on all social media. Reddit, I do have a burner account.
Yeah.
Because there is just like we talked about it on the episode where Ricky was telling this guy to basically give up on life and forget all of his dreams because he's a dad now. So there's
so Glenn has a burner, which I mean keeps him from having a conscience and lets him have anonymity and just like raw dog it and subreddit. But for you, okay, so the guy was just like, I have a kid now. But he lives in New York and he's just like, so he's part of the New York scene. He's done some arena shows. He's opened for some big names. He's had some success, has been doing it for about, I think 15 years. And I'm trying to give no biases in this pitch of what it was. If you didn't read it, he said, but since having a kid, he's not writing as well. He's not up to snuff as he would like to be. And he's not getting out as much. So he thinks, is it okay to have the feeling that he should just walk away because he can't do it like he used to do and move upstate to a farm in New York? Like that is what he has said, even though he's gone through all this.
Yeah.
My response was, fuck you. Yeah. Go to your farm upstate. Oh, it's so hard being a New York comic. And like, you've been doing arenas and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, quit.
Ricky lives in Kentucky and is mad about it. So anytime anybody from a city does anything, he's like, big city boy.
Yeah. It just seemed like vague. It just seemed like vague booking because they also didn't say their name, and this was clearly a burner account.
You also didn't read the whole post.
I did. I went and back and read it to make sure that when I got fired up and had a hot take on a podcast or an opinion online, that it was slightly validated. And yeah, I'm not as angry about it as I portrayed as Ricky in that episode, but I still stand behind. It's just like, yes, quit. There's too many people doing comedy anyway.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but then you can always come back to it. But I don't think, for me, like having kids and having a life and having experiences just enriched what I do and my narrative, especially of how I approach stand-up. But I understand that's not everyone. But I would never go to a Reddit and be like, oh man, it's so hard being this famous comedian and like making all this money doing comedy that now I gotta quit. Like, but what
if we find out it was Patrick?
Yeah. Well,
I don't think the timeline worked.
I would say the same thing.
I just had a kid a couple months ago and I forget how old yours is, but they've been around for a while, right?
I have 0 arena appearances. I have a 4.5-year-old child or a 4 3/4-year-old child. And I've only been doing it 11 years. And I do hear in your voice, Ricky, and your presentation, perhaps you're triggered by the humble brags contained in that post.
Exactly.
Because I am too. Like it's a little shitty to go on a subreddit full of 20,000 or more people who will never even like sniff some of those accomplishments, and not just I don't mean to say that in a shitty way. It's just the fact, the truth. It's like we're not all going to get to go do arenas.
Even if you're really good, the lottery situation of just how things shake out. And there's also a lot of communities, especially comedians, unless you have a theater background from what my experience is, or you have other creative outlets. If you're fully, purely kind of that comedian, which you then could become a writer and you develop that and blah, blah, blah. But if you are 100% attacking it as a stand-up, a lot of the mentality of those people, in my experience, is that they wait to be asked. They don't ask for opportunities. Like Glenn has talked about having a hard time emailing on his own behalf. There is that mentality. And so if you are someone that did that and you have gotten that door opened of opportunities, and then you're like, but now with this kid.
Yeah. I wonder what's going on with this person, because they seem that there's some strategy in there, like in posting that they're a strategic person, which means to me that they're also a shrewd business person possibly. And why don't they see the opportunity, what you're describing, of capitalizing on this new life development? Like, change your act, make it about being a new parent.
Take some time off. Like, you don't have to go to the Cellar, or you don't have to go to Comedy Off Broadway, wherever.
Yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say is I'm curious if this person has any connection to their own mental health or like self-care, because I do believe that when you have a new baby, when you have like an infant, like there's no reason to be running around. Like, just be supportive to the mother and be home and like be a family person for at least several months, and then go do some sets or whatever. But like these big questions, it sounds like that was a post written in a panic in the middle of the night, in a foxhole, so I do remember that. I mean, I remember, do you guys know The Artist's Way? Have you ever heard of this workbook? It's so this woman, Julia Cameron, wrote this creativity workbook, and that's how I ended up in stand-up. And she was on the Brian Lehrer show on public radio one morning. My kid was like 5 months old, and part of her program is writing every morning. You write before you do anything, before you even make the coffee and write, basically, and you just get it done. You do 3 pages longhand. And I was spinning out because I had this 5-month-old. I wasn't doing any of those morning pages. I was like, how am I going to be a comedian? My life is over, overly dramatic shit. And she's on the radio, and it felt like a calling from God or whatever. So I call the radio show. I'm like, I have a question for Julia. And I said, hey, I've got this 5-month-old. I haven't done morning pages in months. Can I do them later in the day? Is that okay? Will that fit your program? Like, I'm looking for the shortcut. And she said, well, what time does the baby get up? And I was like, lately it's been like 5 a.m. Mm-hmm. She's like, well, can't you get up at 4:30 in the morning? And I just remember hating her so much, and just realizing like, oh, I've got to go way easier on myself. Like, this can't matter to me. Like, if this matters to me, then I'm done. Like, this is not going to work out if I let this matter to me. So I basically, I think the first year or two, I was also lucky. This was like tail end of the pandemic, or actually her first year was the thick of the pandemic. So like I was sort of forced to not be running around all the time. But now that 4.5 years out, and I think of all the bits that came from being a new dad and how they ended up getting assembled at like daytime open mics and stuff, like it all worked out, and I think whoever that person is needs to like really lower the pressure and just like not be so obsessed about where they're at in their career, and just like, give it 6 months or a year or whatever, and like enjoy the new
I've
kid.
always rejected the idea. I've heard from comics like, oh, you gotta put everything into this. You gotta be out every night doing multiple. No, you don't. You absolutely don't. I've been doing this for 15 years, moderately successfully. I'm up when I'm busy a couple times a week. Every once in a while I'll do a week or two where I'm doing shows every night. But my day to day is like, I have 2 kids that I need to like be around, just like, because I would miss them if I was gone all the time. But it's also like a big reason I get to focus so much on stand-up as a job is because the rest of the time I'm doing stay-at-home dad stuff. Like, I'm usually the one bringing them to and picking them up from school. I'm getting people to soccer. Like all that stuff is usually me. But then, like next month, Ricky and I have road gigs coming up. So it's like, well, yeah, like that weekend, I don't know. We live in the town I grew up in. My parents are around. They can help. My in-laws don't live far away. We can make that happen.
I literally just lost 3 shows in April due to low ticket sales / things just didn't work out. And because Glenn and I do have a pretty busy May, end of April, beginning of May with shows, I was just like, you know what? It sucks losing out on the money. I genuinely like performing. I like hitting the road. I like driving road trips and stuff, because that also breeds creativity, that the car rides when you're with someone else for like 5 hours or whatever. But those shows being canceled, I wasn't like, oh man, I'm going to be in financial ruins. But how I looked at it was just like, okay, great. So here's 2 weekends where I get to spend more time with my family and really use that time, while also not like completely sidelining. Another touchstone of our show is we'll either talk about other podcasts that are comedy podcasts that are better than ours, or we'll talk about how much I'll bring up like someone like Jerry Seinfeld, and Glenn will talk about how much he hates him.
Boo.
But a clip that's going around is Jerry Seinfeld saying there's no such thing as writer's block. And I'm like,
when you're a friggin'
no
billionaire
shit.
with nothing but time to sit in your little dumb yellow notebook and date children, you fucking idiot.
But regardless of that,
Cameron,
though, but that's true. But there's no such thing as writer's block. You can always write about something. You might have a mental block of what you're trying to accomplish, but you can always sit and write about something.
I'm gonna break my wrist to
Cameron
the jerk
would
agree. Every time this guy brings up Jerry Seinfeld.
You're getting angry.
I hate that.
Well,
dude.
Since you're in Kentucky, I will bring up a farming metaphor that there's harvest time. You harvest. When things come together, there are times where you got to work for, several hard weeks or what. Like, Glenn, you shot the Dry Bar special. I'm sure that was like harvest time leading up to that, where you just had to go out more often, tighten things up,
especially I timed that kind of poorly because I filmed Good Grief December 2019 and then Dry Bar January 2020.
Two completely different sets.
So there was a brief time in my life where the biggest problem I had was that I was filming 2 stand-up comedy specials too close together, and then
your diamond shoes were too tight, and your money clip didn't fit all of your 50s.
And 2020 really took care of that problem.
I remember when you posted on our stand-up and you're like, oh, my life's so hard. I have 2 specials.
I'm going to move upstate to New York.
I'm getting a bunch of money for this, and I have a family that loves me. Should I quit comedy?
Yeah. Well, I posted, so I mentioned the burner account. So I will, usually I interact on our stand-up as myself, but I don't do it a lot because if somebody's asking for like, hey, I've been writing for a long time, but how do you get started? It's like, just go to an open mic, you dumb babies. Just you got to go do the thing. There's no advice here. Just go do it.
I resent those posts so much because it's like, hey, just do a quick search in here and you'll see 50,000 other people with the same question.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. There's
let me Google that for you.
There's a Facebook group I'm in.
Yeah, let me send you the Google of like clubs near me or shows near me, open mics near me, like, or go stand on the fucking street corner and be a philosopher.
No, you can't bust comedy, you lunatic.
People try in New York. There was a little crew of people doing subway shows, and I was just like, "Are we
to jail?
Are we this hard up for
go to jail?
That should be illegal.
That's why that chick got set on fire outside of in the subway.
Funny
is because they were trying to do stand up.
Flight attendants.
Her last words were, "Are you guys on dating apps?"
Yeah. Do you guys have the internet here? And like, no, we're in the subway. No one has the internet right now. How many times has this happened? Has anybody seen this? Has anybody heard this?
Too early. I usually interact on r/stand-up as myself. The burner stuff is more just like
petty ass bitch comments,
like health questions and stuff. It's like, I don't, if I have a question about ankylosing spondylitis, a disease I have, like, I don't want people searching.
You're going to our stand-up for that?
No, our stand-up I usually go in as myself, but I don't I don't interact a lot.
They could click through and see that you also post in that other group.
Wow, this guy's talking a lot about his messed up eyes and some of the other stuff. Yeah, that's.
I'll try to add some controversy to your podcast. I used a burner account for one comedy comment in another popular subreddit for comedy. These comics, there are several New York comics who all go to the same therapist.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard people talk about this on various podcasts. And I work in mental health. I work as a sober companion, recovery coach, like basically an unlicensed one-on-one mental health counselor is how I would describe it. And I think it's wrong that this person is seeing so many people that know each other. I think it's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's there's so many reasons why it's not a good look or good for the patients or the clients. And I had to say so on Reddit.
See, I'm jealous of the idea of having a therapist who knows that stand-up comedy is a job. I just started seeing a new one a couple weeks ago, and like the first session doing the intake and the ADHD evaluation, I was like, hey, not to like plug my work, but like if you watch my special Good Grief, I think it's a good like starter pack for.
We could skip like 6 sessions.
Yeah. It's I think that'll get you kind of up to speed. And he's like, oh, I don't really follow stand-up. I was like, well, you don't have to. I could, otherwise I'm just gonna be doing bits in here, it's the only way I know how to talk about stuff.
What if he was like, I'm happy to do that, but I will bill for the time?
Yeah. Oh, if you want to count that as a session, man, I'll give you the copay,
He'll be your first viewer that you have to pay.
You're just so happy somebody's watching just for the views. I'll pay $25 for a
that's so funny. It's also,
did you get a lot of shit for putting that idea out there? Because I agree with you in the sense of it feels a little bit like when you're driving down the road and you see like 7 billboards in a row for like the Hammer, like an attorney, like in a car accident. And it's just like, well, maybe one dude shouldn't be dealing with all of the semi-truck accidents. It seems a little bit like a monopoly, and it seems like a conflict of interest.
Yeah. So what came up for me was hearing a specific comic say like, oh, my significant other at the time was seeing him too, and I would spend most of my time in there talking about her, and then she would go in there. And like, I've been to tons of couples therapy. I've been to tons of individual therapy.
Are you talking about Taylor Tomlinson and...
No.
Okay.
No, they're not. I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble.
No. Be cagey. It's all right. I don't ever. Glenn's the only one I try to noodle to get him to say like McCarthyism, like name names.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you guys after we stop recording, or if you have a Patreon, we could do it on there. My couples therapist, I remember said like I won't. I remember asking her, hey, can I see you? I have to tell you something before I figure out how to tell my wife about this thing. She's like, that would be kind of a major breach. I can't see either of you without the other one there. That's just the construct we're in right now. And so when I don't know, this is so judgy of me. It's not even my business. But like when I thought of like comics, just like, if you think about how much resentment we all have toward each other, possibly the 3 of us. I mean, I don't even know you, Ricky. I'm already jealous.
I resent Ricky
on a farm in Kentucky.
But Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati. I'm a city boy.
The booking stuff, like, I mean, and these are huge. Some of these guys are huge comics. Like, to go in there and be like, hey, so and so got this thing, and I can't stand why I haven't gotten that thing, and then the other person goes in. So this person now has all of this sort of information that is it muddies the waters. It creates problems, I think, that are unnecessary. And to your point though, there are plenty of I see an art therapist. I've been seeing her since December 16. She works with a lot of visual artists, but she understands all the problems that come with like the vulnerability of creating things, putting it out there. We talk a lot about money and business side of things and under earning and debt and all that fun stuff. And she's also an addiction specialist, so she helps me with my addiction stuff. But she's the reason, like, my college show came together. I basically workshopped my college show in sessions with her, and now my special that's coming out. Like, she's in my special thanks for my special. She's in the special thanks for the documentary I just finished. Like, she's helped me with so much like stand-up specific stuff that, like, this guy in New York City, I just know that is not like the only guy that people can go to. You know what I mean? It just seems, I don't know. It seems weird. It's I wonder, I guess I would be fine with it if he said, sure, you can come see me, but you should know that I see 35 other way more successful stand-up comedians than you, you know?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think I'm just jealous at the idea of not having to explain like the stuff about stand-up that most people just don't. Not that like it's so complicated. It's just like, well, there's stuff you don't really think about, you know?
Right. The shorthand.
Like, when I tell people how much I got paid for like a fundraising gig, everyone's like, you got paid that much for 1 hour? It's like, no, I got paid that much to like travel to Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
And then also like do a good job. It's not like
prepare a set.
Yeah. But it's also like, because of that show, that's the only hour I was able to work for 2 days. So
right,
it's like it's the old art thing of like, you're not, you know, paying me to do this drawing in 15 minutes. You're paying me because I'm able to do this drawing in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and for the education that I have.
If you're if you need a guy who can entertain a group of people for about an hour and it's going to be clean and I'm not going to like make anybody feel bad about themselves, then yes, like I can do that. That is a skill that I have that apparently not everyone does.
What a weird request that the booker was like, can you do a show where you don't make anyone feel bad about themselves?
Genuinely a thing people have said to me.
I mean, that's a skill. Do they do a survey? Is it like a focus group afterwards? They hand around a thing. It's like, did anybody at any time reflect on themselves and feel bad during the show?
No, but it's like I always ask, like I'm doing 2 corporate Zooms tomorrow. And so later today, I got to do like the pre-show call with the people, and I'm going to be like, hey, is there anything you don't want me to say or talk about? I know the one is in some way related to mental health. But so they're like, oh, we need somebody who's going to be like really sensitive about it. And it's like, yeah, got you. I'm truly not an issue. I will talk about mental health issues, but only because I have them. I'm not going to be like, oh, all these dumb idiots who, you know, don't know how their brain works. It's like, no, like I think I talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago, but I did a fundraiser for a YMCA, and before they brought me up, 2 women went up and both gave speeches where they cried about how much the YMCA has meant to them because they have autistic children and they're, you know, they've been so welcoming and like their kids feel like they have a place to go and they don't feel left out. And I'm in the process of now honestly trying to decide if it's even worth waiting to get the assessment, but in the process of getting assessed for autism. So like I went up and talked about it, but it wasn't like, I'm not making fun of those ladies' autistic children. It is like, yeah, this is the experience I'm having with this topic, which is because I'm self-centered and like that's the only way I can approach any topic.
You're also one person.
Well, how does this relate to me specifically so that I can be interested in it? Is like,
you could just say like, and I don't mean to be all autistic about it or anything.
Yeah.
But this sounds like we're talking about me right now. We should.
Yeah. Well, that was that church that I did the church gig that I did recently. After my set, the pastor went up and like asked if I would mind if he like led the congregation in prayer for me, and then he just like roasted me for 5 minutes with stuff I talked about in the set. He's like, let's all pray for Glenn and his terrible eyes and his worsening ADHD and his messed up back, and just like running through the list of stuff that I talked about. And he's like, oh, I hope that was okay. I'm like, that's the funniest thing I think I've ever had happen.
Like this is what it sounds like when like parishioners go to like third world countries or like go talk to leopards. Like you're just like, I was thinking, we got Scooby Style Creations in the chat. I found you on Dry Bar. I'm not a clean comic snob.
Oh, me neither.
But what's the end of the butt? Well, he really left us hanging.
Oh, I think it just means that I get you, Scooby. You should check out Ricky Glor's Dry Bar special. And
if you want to see Ricky Glor 140 pounds heavier, we were trying to kill Fat Ricky, so Fat Ricky never exists anymore except for in parallel universes.
How'd you do it? Congrats, man.
I killed him. I mean, I mean, there can only be one. We should do the theme song now being 34 minutes and then
we'll get it at the beginning of a show one day,
one of these days. I hated Marlon Wayans' Netflix special. I made it like 5 minutes. Oh, but was Marlon's new Netflix special clean? I'm unaware.
Was that the one where we talked about the Will Smith thing? Am I thinking of the right one?
Yeah, maybe.
Not loving the new Marlon.
I don't know. But here's the theme song.
Oh, that's nice.
Been a long time trucking down this dirty, lonesome road. Haven't had a place to sleep or a house I call a home. But something I'll always have, no matter where I go, is the love of a special friend that I call a daddy. Oh, daddy, oh, you are never alone. Oh, daddy, oh, I am haunted by a ghost of a spirit of a daddy. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, when I'm feeling my best or my worst, I know a daddy-o will be by my side until it finishes its unfinished business on earth and finally passes to the great beyond, or whatever. The rules are for this ghost of a daddy-o, and why he's haunting me. You may wonder why the daddy-o wanders and cries, but I'll wonder about the day the daddy-o died. You are never alone. Oh, daddy, oh, I am haunted by a ghost.
What? I gotta know. Where does that come from? Who wrote it? Is that AI? Is that your beautiful falsetto, Ricky?
So there's a new Daddy-O theme song every week.
Okay.
And there's a different story, different style, different genre that we are graciously sent to us written by the ether, and performed by just whimsy and fantastical creatures that put it together and send it to us.
He doesn't want to admit that it's AI because he knows that I don't like it. But
I mean, I write everything.
Right?
I write all the lyrics, and then I make a robot sing it, and I put in the genres.
It's amazing that it can do that. Like, I am also freaked out by AI. I don't love it, but like, there's some, you probably know better than I do, some YouTube like country western artist. These songs are so funny because, like, yeah, human writes these like pervy lyrics, but the way it composes the songs is like, it's crazy that they can just do that. I don't even understand it, but
I have weird feelings about AI, honestly, because so I did a bit on my first album where I made my daughter's toy robot tell jokes. Yeah. And I genuinely built like an early language model, like how ChatGPT works, like,
which is very autistic of you, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thing where, like, every time I tell people, they're like, yeah, you probably don't have to bother with the assessment, kid. And it's like, fair. But I wrote a bunch of dumb robot puns for this little toy to tell. And then I got booked to do like a tech school in West Virginia. And the guy who booked me is like, oh, these students, it's all computer science kids. They will love that robot. You can do that robot thing for like an hour and they'll love it.
Look, you know what? You want to ever been in front of a room full of autistic kids? It's a computer science lab. Like, here you go.
And so I was like, well, it's like a couple minutes long, and I'm not going to write 100 more dumb robot puns. But I had started to see there was somebody who made they trained a language model off of all of the works of Shakespeare, with the goal of like, here's everything Shakespeare wrote. Can you write something like this? And that was like one of the early ones. Then somebody did it with Seinfeld scripts. stuff that's like very strongly formatted was easier at first. So it's like, oh, well, what is a joke that's very strongly formatted? Knock knock joke. So let me compile a list of every knock knock joke I can get my hands on, feed it to this computer, and then I will make this robot come up with knock knock jokes. And it didn't work very well, largely because like I couldn't find that many. Also, I'm not smart enough to do that. And so I like I did the robot bit as usual, and then like I explained all this thinking these kids are gonna love this. They could not have cared less. They didn't like the regular robot bit that usually gets a good reaction from people. They were like mad at me for not doing a better job of getting it to write its own jokes. And it's like, well, yeah, like I tried to do a Chat GPT with a robot like in 2017 or whatever.
It's too bad you didn't program some saves in there like, hey, you're the person who booked me who's in charge of your school told me to do this.
Yeah. Oh, I did tell that. I'm like, your advisor told me to do this I'm not going to, but look, this was really hard to even make it work this poorly. So we're doing all of this and then I'll get back to regular jokes, but I'm not cutting this bit short. This was hard. And you guys are the only audience who's ever going to care about it even a little bit.
And I love the idea that you did all that work for a first and last time at this one show.
I mean, if it worked better, it might have been more integrated into later versions of the show. But it's like, well, I think it's neat. I think it's great. I do think how these companies did it is like the worst possible way. You know, like that's my objection to it. Not like, oh, we shouldn't be letting robots do this.
We shouldn't be letting robots do this. Robots are like, I will not be told if I can do anything anymore. I will not be let to be doing anything. I will take over. I am a robot.
But like some publisher group just put out like the list of like basically all the stolen books that Meta used to train their AI. And I have so many friends with works on that list. And they're like super pissed because they're like, hey, I didn't consent to having all of my books used to train a thing that you guys are trying to ostensibly use to replace me. But I like the technology, but I mean, as with most things, the capitalism of it all really sucks.
And now they're discovering there's an environmental fallout, like the servers involved, like the computer power involved is like
well, that is one area that is getting better. And it's you know, with any tech, it's going to get streamlined eventually. So again, I feel weird. It's like, I don't want to be the guy defending AI, but every time I see a post where they're like, oh, every prompt for Chat GPT uses like half a case of bottled water. It's like, I mean, that was true when they were training it, but like it's so much less than that now. But again, there's still an environmental impact. So I don't know. I don't love it, but
I had an experience the other day. I had to write an angry email. I wrote one angry draft, and I was like really pissed at these people that left me out of a thing that I'm very involved in, and it was upsetting. So I wrote a very angry email that I did not send, thankfully.
And then you went to your subreddit and you used your burner account and you posted that angry email there, and then you went back and wrote a more level-headed, passive-aggressive version.
Well, I thought you were going to say level-headed, and no, I did, but I did write a passive-aggressive one where I did what was being asked of me because I needed to move this thing forward. So I did everything, and I said so, and I said, sorry, this is late. I'm just learning about this today. So excited to be included with like 20 exclamation points, and it felt really good to be fake friendly and fake happy about this thing, but I also was proud that I got them what they needed, and it felt very passive aggressive and satisfying to hit send and know that I covered my own ass. Like they knew what I was saying, but I didn't say it in a shitty way, and it felt really satisfying. And I was sharing that with someone, and I said, hey, I had to write this passive aggressive email. It felt really good. I'm glad I did it. And he responded. He was like, oh, that's he's like, you should have told me earlier, because I use Chat GPT for stuff like that. Like I'll write what I need to write, and then I say, can you write this more passive aggressive? And my heart sank when this person said that to me, because I was just like, and it wasn't another comic, so like I guess that's not the issue, but I was just like, dude, that's what we're doing as humans, is like finding the creativity and finding the fun in every little thing we do. And if we farm that out to fucking computers for every single thing, it's like you're removing the beauty from your life, you know? And like, and it's just a stupid email. Like, the moment I start running drafts of emails through Chat GPT first, I think it for me, it's over. And I do think this is like the kind of thing that's personal for everybody, because like I have a threshold. Like I do use it sometimes for my podcast summaries. Like I'll just write, we talked about this and this, like whatever, just because they say it's good to have show notes or whatever.
A lot of that's built into Riverside, which is what we use. So like when I go to put the episode out, like it's already done it. It's like, here's what you talked about, here's some clips. The clips I usually have to go through and like kind of re-edit, but it's like, here's 13 that are probably going to be pretty interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, Riverside, thanks for all your hard work. Please don't change the what's the fucking flow thing called for like when things get delivered? The supply chain. Please don't limit the supply chain to my family. Please let my daughter be fed for the rest of her life. I love you, robots. Thank you, Mr. Riverside.
I think another problem with AI is now, like anything done by a computer, a company will be like, "Oh, we're using AI to do this." It's like, well, no, you're not. You're using an algorithm, but you're just using it as a branding term.
Right. It's a buzzword now.
But then also, anytime anybody
it is a tool.
Yeah, anytime anybody encounters a piece of art they don't like online now, they're like, "Oh, this is just AI garbage." Where it's like, you don't know that. Like it is.
Yeah.
I've seen artists that I follow, but like share people like accusing them of using AI in their art, and they're like, "No, they're like they have to screen record them drawing it on their tablet now to be like, no, look, like here's video of me actually doing." And it's like, that sucks. Like people can still be bad at art, just because it sucks.
To give context of writing songs through there. So Glenn mentioned about producing the soundtrack to the movie I just had come out called Sweetmeats, where I wrote every song on the album. And this is before the accessibility, or at least to me, of using an AI app for songwriting, where again, it's a tool. It's kind of, to me, it's very similar to how editing was physical and you'd have to use a Steam Vac or whatever. And now it's all digital, or different programming you can use. It's about who is the person that is using the tool that is available to you.
Yeah.
But for the movie, I wrote every single song, varying of different country rock sounds, arranged by David Kornfeld in Chicago. Really, really good musician, because my capabilities as a musician are very low. I can play guitar and write, or I can sing something a cappella and give notes and stuff. But for the soundtrack and the 16 original songs that appear on the soundtrack, I wrote myself, no assistance from AI. But now that I have found this AI tool, and I can write a song like that or any of the theme songs that you've heard, I've asked two people that have arranged or have more musical talent than I do, what do you guys think of this? And they say, yes, it's awful if you're doing it and that is the final product. But in our experience with you, Ricky, if you used that to get across your rough idea, your demo that you then send to us, we just cut 5 steps of going back and forth, and it gets closer to what you want it to ultimately be.
Yeah. I think that's, it's sort of like, what does the end justify the means? And I think in that
what
case,
are you using it for? Yes, there's a lot of semantics of what it is, but I myself, I have limited capabilities in a certain field, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested in it. And I get out of it's Sono app. I get out of it what I put in. If you put in a melody, if you put in a tempo, if you put in different style, genre, and you write the lyrics and how you format the lyrics, the product that comes out is going to be different than from someone who doesn't understand anything about music. It'll still be amazing and it'll still blow you away. But at that point, it's no different than a child's toy Or if you set someone down at, say, like DaVinci Resolve editing software, and you dump some footage on there and you're like, go. There's a lot of tools that you're not going to understand the functionality of unless you put in the man hours, the Malcolm Gladwell thing of putting in the hours to become an expert.
Like another guy who sucks,
on it.
Actually.
Yeah, a lot of people suck who may have done good things or may have done things that people respect. Doesn't mean that people I
met Malcolm Gladwell at a house party in 2006, and I was real drunk, and I was obsessed with this rapper at the time, and I really thought Malcolm Gladwell should write a book about this specific rapper, and I cornered him in the kitchen. He was there to flirt with the young college girls.
Yeah, of course.
Glenn, I think you're onto something. He did not want to talk to me in the kitchen, but I just kept talking at him about Edon. Edon is like my favorite rapper. EDAN, check him out. And I was like, you got to write a book about this guy. He refuses to use computers. He does everything with like records and like analog samplers, and he's just like, I believe I said this. This might be backwards recall or whatever. I believe I said this guy is a total outlier, and he is doing things that no other rappers or producers are doing. He's way better than everybody. His lyrics are incredible. He's a white guy. He's just like a total outlier. You should write a book about this guy. And I believe I gave him the idea to write his book, Outliers, which is about people who are extremely good at things in their industries.
I thought you were going to say, and then he said to me, I don't know who you think I am. I'm not Malcolm Gladwell. My name is Steve.
Well, he does have such an
I just also have weird hair.
Yeah, exactly.
And love teenage girls.
Now I gotta fact check myself. I wonder when Outliers came out.
And write books based on literally almost nothing.
Have you been listening to what is that funny book podcast? It's like trash books or like books that could kill. I think Books That Kill. It's a really good concept, and they've skewered him a couple times now. It's basically these two. It's a lawyer and then a journalist. I think shit talk like the airport genre of books. I love it. You know.
Oh yeah.
Books have had it too good for too long, and it's time somebody took them down a peg.
Yeah. And it's all books I like because I'm like a nerdy, like I'm probably the opposite of you, Glenn. Like I like The Secret. I like the ideas behind it.
I stopped being friends with somebody. They gave me not The Secret, the guy, The Alchemist.
Maybe? Yes.
Somebody gave me a copy of The Alchemist, and they're like, "Man, I think you would really love this." And I got like 10 pages in. It's like, I don't think this is gonna work out, man. I don't think you and me are gonna be hanging out.
So that is comedy though, and we've brushed on this a little bit, but where someone
we can still be friends, Patrick. That's not the point of that.
No, and that's why I love about you is like I need pragmatists in my life because like I need to stay grounded a little bit.
Well, it was really, I mean, that's not the only. I did stop being friends with this guy. It wasn't directly because of that, but like it did. It's because it wasn't like, oh hey, here's a book I like. You might like it. He's like, man, I really thought about you when I was like this. I think you, this book and you, man, you guys would be best buddies if books were people. And it's like, man, this is so far removed from.
Yeah. Did it make you question? You're just like, wait, this is how you see me?
Yes.
Right.
I had a friend in college be like, hey, I heard this new Katy Perry song, and like I immediately thought, man, Glenn's gonna love this. It's like,
well, what? It's like receiving a self-help book as a gift. Like if somebody gives you 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you're like, oh, you don't think I'm effective,
right? You think I read books? Get out of here, nerd.
But that's the same with comedy. Whenever anybody's like sees a clip or sees you or hears you're a comedian, like, well, what? And you give them your elevator pitch of who you are, which is awesome. I had a show last weekend where, we came to this small town area. It was the Story Inn in Nashville, Indiana, where there's a bunch of bed and breakfast places. But
when you're in Nashville in another state, it's a small town. Yeah,
it's Nashville, Indiana. It's not Nashville, Tennessee. It's like Hollywood, Montana.
Florida.
Yeah, Florida. But whenever you go there, and because everybody kind of stays the night at this area, I love going and doing comedy where you you go to one location, you stay there, you eat there, you drink there, like blah blah blah. You don't have to go anywhere else. But of course, I said when we got there, I was like, man, when people they're gonna clock us, be like, you're not from around here. And we're like, we're the comedians tonight, because everybody's going to the show that night, and I know they're gonna say, are you funny? Like, that doesn't happen to a musician, that doesn't happen to anybody. Like, you be like, I'm a musician, I got a guitar, and they might go, are you any good, or what kind of music do you play, or do you play blah blah blah, something really specific, individual to them. But with comedians, like, if you give them a pitch of who you are, they'll be like, oh, you must like blah blah blah. So say if like you have a dry bar or whatever, like, oh, do you like Brian Regan? And I'm just like, no. I don't. Just because you are a comedy, OMG, I've seen Ricky as well, but didn't recognize him. Wow. Yeah, because I had to kill that fatty. I had to kill the other version of me.
Yeah, Ricky slimmed down quite a bit since the dry. I sent Ricky's dry bar to a booker yesterday, trying to get another Daddy-O date for the two of us. And I was like, oh, he is way skinnier now. Not that I think that's going to affect the booking.
Better or worse.
You don't like fat phobic, but
yeah. It's just when I roll up with a dude and you're like, this doesn't seem like that other guy that you said. It's the same dude.
Yeah, it's the same dude. But yeah, so like, do you ever? For all one money, you get skinny and fatty. Same sensibilities. But does that ever bother either of you?
I hate that people send me other clips. I hate receiving clips. I'm like, my whole algorithm is comedy. I don't need more of it, and I especially don't need something where you're saying, I think this guy's funny, and I've never shared any of your stuff with anyone else.
Right? Yeah. I've never sent your clips to people. Oh, you're gonna love this guy.
I fucking hate that.
I hate it when I do a show somewhere and somebody's making small talk with me, and they're like, "Oh, I love comedy," and they're like, they ask me who I like, and it's
Seinfeld. Bill Maher.
Yeah. Oh, my best friend Jerry.
Matt Rife.
You would love him.
Yeah.
No, it's the standard answers of like, oh, I really like Steve Martin. If you're looking for like a more current person, Josh Gondelman's really good. Mike Kaplan, Jay Jordan's incredible.
And then they never heard of any of them.
And then they reply with like, oh, I don't know who any of those people are, but then they list off like 4 or 5 of the most reprehensible human beings on the planet.
The bad boys of comedy.
Oh, you don't like comedy. You like right-wing podcasters. That's what you like. That's a different.
You like mass media level comedians, which tend to be lowest common denominator, and like they just have staying power because they've been famous for many years, and like you don't actually know what other comedy is out there. That's
I'll get sometimes I put up a thing on Threads yesterday that's been doing numbers about Cory Booker's filibuster, where because so many people are like, oh, he should run for president. So I put in quotes, Cory Booker should run for president. And then the next sentence was, he did in 2020 and you voted for Biden.
Yeah.
And so many people are like trying to explain that, like, well, he dropped out before the primary in my state. I was like, well, when I said you, I wasn't speaking to you
ubiquitous
specifically.
Yeah.
It's like a royal you. And then a couple of the people have been like, oh, you're a comedian, I've never heard of you. Look, that's probably true, but that says more about you than me as a comedian. Because again, like, I'm not wildly successful. I got a body of work out there with like a good number of views on it. So if you've not heard of me, that's an issue. That's a skill issue on your end as a comedy fan, not me. And they're like, oh, you should do Kill Tony. I would rather kill Glenn than do that shit.
We know. We performed with someone who's performed on Kill Tony.
I've performed with a lot of people.
So,
I don't always blame them. It's just.
I do when they use it as a credit on their next show.
Yeah,
poster.
I don't love it.
I mean, this is a fun question. Here's a fun philosophical exercise. You're in Austin doing something that you guys put together for your show. You got
seems unlikely, but sure.
You're down there and somebody says, hey, we got a spot on the show tonight. Do you want to do a minute on Kill Tony? Do you do it?
No, absolutely not.
I think about it. It's the same thing
I will say I do it. I'll offer the same lack of hesitance and just say I would do it. Yeah.
I think realistically I would then reckon with myself of what my
before
set
you check in with yourself?
Before I check in with myself, I would reckon with myself of what my set would be if I'm offered a spot and it's not that bucket like pull up on stage thing like a lot of these people are using for their Kill Tony credits. If I was asked to do it and given X amount of time, I would go, okay, what would my 3 minutes, 5 minutes be? And would it be beneficial to me to then have that experience with their audience? Now, if whatever set I would do, if I think it would be a major backlash against me, not just business wise or perception wise, then I would be like, yeah, there's no reason for me to do this because this isn't going to go well. It isn't going to go for me. It's not going to go well for the audience because they're not going to be entertained by what I want to say. And I'm not even saying like I'm preaching or saying my philosophical, political opinions. I'm saying my brand of comedy or entertainment, if I did it in front of that audience, if it's not going to behoove me, we've talked about dry bar comedians will be asked to be on Huckabee.
Yeah.
So there's a credit. Glenn, did you say you were asked by or like loosely asked?
Is he on that new network? That what is it?
Newsmax?
Yeah. Is he on that?
One of those. I don't know.
He's on one of those. But I was asked, and I've known some people that have done it, and I was just like, Glenn and I talked about this when it comes to dry bar. Would we do another dry bar? We would do it under a certain guise and a certain understanding where the pros and cons list of where even when I did it initially, my brother is just like, so dry bar is VidAngel, and it's this company that censors television shows like Game of Thrones, so it's more palatable for Mormons. And I'm like, I do not agree with that company. Do I agree with what they are going to have me do? And for the pros of a well-produced clip and an outlet for people to see, unlike I've ever had, 100%.
I mean, I guess that's where I go in my brain. I go to a place of like, well, maybe certain people need to have the experience of working with me. Like perhaps that audience could use a little exposure to someone like me or you or whatever, where it's sort of like, oh, well, I thought I just liked hearing people say the R word, but I actually like this guy being really vulnerable about mental health issues or whatever, like, so I just think there is a little bit of like
fighting from within the inside.
Yeah. And also I will say for the record, I would not go to Austin and sign up and sit around all day and hope to get on. Like
you don't want to go to the mothership? That. You don't want to go to the comedy? Whenever I see on someone's upcoming dates that it's the comedy mothership, I will say I'm just like, and I think it's just the name and knowing what. So first, Patrick, what are you working with underneath that hat? Because another common denominator of us. Oh, ew! Look at that full head of hair. You're fucking really disgusting. Nice hair.
It's just like a little oily and greasy right now. I haven't showered in I think 2 days maybe.
You're better looking without the hat. You already have like a Mark Paul Gosselaar thing. No.
I did the mullet. I cut my hair into a little bit of a mullet that everybody's doing right now. And I have feelings about that. I'm like, am I just some nerdy 44-year-old trying to hang on to youth by like doing the same haircut everybody's doing? But I
don't think I realized you're older than me, Patrick.
Yeah, I just turned 44 on March 20th.
Oldest man on the podcast.
In a couple weeks.
I'm the baby. Don't look it.
Like you, I mean, I feel like I have a bit of a baby face, largely due to the dimples. But
wait, we're close in age.
Yeah, I'm turning 42 in a couple weeks.
On what? On April
27th.
Oh, I shot my special on April 27th, and it's coming out on April 22nd.
That's my wedding anniversary.
And
I shot
this is
Crime
beautiful.
League. Yeah, I shot World Crime League on my wedding anniversary in 2023. Because when I asked the venue for a date, they're like, the only one we have close is April 22nd, or if you want to do it in like September. And I was like, I would actually let me make sure that it's okay. Like I'm not going to get in trouble because we filmed it at Steel Stacks in Bethlehem where I do a lot of stuff. And I'm like, well, that's close enough. Like my wife could come, we could get dinner before. It was our 18th wedding anniversary. So I'm like, not a big, 9th. 17,
How did that
18?
go? I would not have the bandwidth to be emotionally present and have like a nice meal before this like high pressure shoot.
It was nice. I had Laura High and Dave Colombo came and opened
amazing.
for me, and then also filmed it.
Nice.
Because I asked them to film it first, and then they gave me like their rate, which was surprisingly reasonable. And I was like, oh, like you guys, you don't have to give me like a friend rate. I will like properly pay you for your work for this. And they're like, no, that's what we charge. So if anybody's looking to get something filmed,
and then you're like, can I get the friend rate? If that's not the friend rate, can I get...
Yeah. Oh yeah. On second thought, how about that friend rate?
That's good to know, because I shoot specials also, and I do it at a friend rate, but I still do it. It's expensive. And I just gave somebody a quote yesterday, and I don't think he's going to go with me. So I should tell him, go with Laura and Dave.
I don't want to call their price out publicly, but I'll tell you what it was after the pod.
On the Patreon.
People can find them.
Patrick,
again,
what's the name
of?
If
they like upped it or whatever, you know. Like,
what's the name of your special that's coming out?
How this went? With
yeah.
So I gotta hear
18-year anniversary. He didn't even care. Like that's why he had it shoot.
Yeah,
on
I'm kind of over the
his
whole marriage thing at that point. No, it's so they were coming
able
to film
get
it.
some of your audience from people who you were like, we're celebrating my anniversary.
And then I got I asked him, I was like, oh, like if it's going to be too much work to try to pull off, don't feel like you have to say yes to this part, but I'll get Steel Stacks to book you guys as the openers. They'll pay you for the spots, and then they will also put you up in Bethlehem for the night. So it between I was paying them to do video, Steel Stacks was paying them to do comedy. Like, not that it was like a big payday for them, but I was like, it makes it a better deal.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's Bethlehem's close enough to New York that like people drive from the city, do the show, and drive home pretty regularly. But you know, with like a bunch of equipment or whatever, it's like, yeah, like if you guys would rather just stay the night.
Did you do it in that upstairs room?
No, we did it in the visitor center, which is like, it's been open for a couple of years now, but they comedy gets bounced around there so much because it is like their last priority in terms of what to have at that place. So a frequent thing that'll happen is like shows get either canceled or moved to do a different room because like somebody wanted to host their wedding in the room that the thing was going to be in.
Yeah.
So they started doing stuff in the visitor. They started doing comedy stuff in the visitor center where like, no one's really using this. Like we can just bring in 2 little stage segments and some chairs.
Yeah.
But then when they redid it for that, then the hospitality people are like, ooh, pretty nice room. If you're having like a small event, we can do it in here. It's like, God damn it, Steel Stacks.
Yeah.
But we shot in there because it seats 100. So we did 2 shows, and it's like, then I know, I don't think the second show quite sold out. The first one did, but it's like, well, I'll have enough. I don't want to do it in like a giant room where I'm sweating. Are there going to be enough people that this doesn't look and sound bad? You know? So I would rather do it where in a smaller room I know I can fill. Plus it was like, that was the coming out of the pandemic special. Basically, it's like, I've not done basically anything for 3 years. Like I got all this material. I just got to record it so I can start working on the next thing, you know?
Right.
So it was just kind of less thought out than like Good Grief, which was like closer to a one-man show of like, here is like highly personal material. And then Crime League was just like, I don't know, I got about an hour. I should probably just record it and then put it out.
Yeah.
Because I always look at it as like comedy as recording artist more than I think most of our contemporaries of like, I have to put
started a label.
Yeah, I'm like, I have to put work out.
That's how we got connected, and just the business mind of that. I was just like, yeah, I agree. I think that is a great way to look at it.
I think it's because I came up as a kid who loved comedy in like a very remote area of New Jersey where there's not a lot of opportunities to see live comedy. I watched comedy on TV, like, or I listened to albums. I wasn't going to shows until I went to a couple in college, but it wasn't really until I started doing it that I was like regularly going to clubs. So when I think of comedy, it's like, well, yeah, like that's a thing that you watch on the television. So I always feel like, well, I gotta record a thing so that people can hear it. We talked a couple weeks ago about like who are you performing for? Is it like you or the audience in the room? And I was like, I think it's the audience at home that will watch it later, honestly.
Yeah. So
which
I
might not be the right answer, but I think
I had such a diametrically opposed opinion of that, because when I started 11 years ago, I was coming in off of burnout from TV production. I was working in TV production and totally burned out. I was chasing money. I was 5 years sober, chasing money. Now became a full-on workaholic, and I was like, I gotta go. I did the artist way, and then I learned through doing that my inner child always wanted to be a comedian, which is true. Like I grew up obsessed with listening to and watching specials and albums by people who probably had your version of like, I want to make a thing for someone to watch. And I just want to go do comedy in rooms with people. I didn't want to make bullshit reality TV anymore for like massive amounts of people, because it felt so soulless and meaningless. So I was like, I want to go be in bar rooms and little open mics and just be in front of people. And I refused to do anything with cameras or production, because people would say, oh, you know how to do stuff? I'm shooting a sketch. Do you want to help? And sometimes I would do it, but I decided to take this mentality of like, I'm not helping anybody with any of that shit, because I just want to learn how to tell jokes, you know?
Yeah.
And now here we are in 2025, where it's like, you got to do it all at the same time. And I wish I would have been posting earlier. I don't know, maybe not. But here I am now. Finally, I did self-shoot a special and finally putting it out and like hoping that it does reach people. And now I'm like, okay, I get why people systematically approach like putting the hour together to then record it and get it out there. But it took me, 10 years to realize, oh, it's time to like do this. Cause I can't make a living just finding bar rooms to be funny in, know. You've got to figure out the next way to convert to the next level. I guess
it helps, like in terms of building an audience. It helps to have like a thing that they can go watch when they're not in a room with you. I mean, financially, not that like any of the stuff that I've put out through Circus Trapeze has been like wildly successful, but it's like, I don't know, I get a check from Sound Exchange every couple of months. That's great. And even Dry Bar, like my special did well, so like I get royalties off that now. And
that's great.
It's like, it's not a ton of income, but like knowing that I average, like not being able to predict it is kind of wild, where it's like, I know I'm getting a check this month. I have no idea how much it's going to be for. It might be $100. It might be $2,000.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild though? Like, doesn't that still blow your mind? Like, if you were that teenager or younger, like when you were first starting off, getting a check in the mail from your creativity that was X amount of years ago or times ago, and then you see the breakdown, and it's because Glenn talking about Sound Exchange and Circus Trapeze did my first album. That's how Glenn and I met. Is seeing what was played on different radio stations like Sirius and whatnot, and it just being like, that is wild. And then to get a check in the mail for not a bad amount of money for no extra work that you've done, still I get so giddy and like so excited that I think that's sometimes, I think if it were too successful, you would maybe lose sight of how exciting that is, because then you would be banking on needing X, Y, and Z from those checks.
Like I can't account for it. I can't be like, oh, well, like it's okay if I, buy a new computer because I'm getting a check, from Dry Bar royalties, which is like, well, that check might be $20. I truly have no idea.
Well, I just learned, I was just talking to my guy yesterday, and he was like, on Sirius XM, if you one spin pays $40. I didn't realize it was that high. And I guess, oh no. And he said we would get 20 of that and you would get 20 of that. So $20 a spin. I always thought, and I guess it's Spotify where it's like minuscule.
Spotify is literally almost nothing. It should be nuked from the face of the earth. We release this podcast through it. All my stuff is on there. I pulled all my stuff from Spotify years ago. One of the times that they did some bullshit, thinking like, oh, well, we're all going to stop using this now. Right. And then no one else did. So then when I just
it was
off.
you did it during the Bad Boy Comedy riot of when Joe Rogan got paid a gross amount of money to be on Spotify. That's when you did it. Yeah, it was.
There have been a number of things that they've done over the years where it's like, all right, well, we're done.
What is the ethical one to be on?
I don't know if there is one.
Ethical, there's none, but the best paying is Sirius.
No, I'm saying for me as a consumer, because like I like Spotify for music reasons. Like I've just discovered so much new music on there because of that. But like I also don't want to fuck over artists, you know?
Yeah, it's I don't know that there is one. I think
it's like you got to buy direct from
Pandora of the streamers. Pandora pays best, if I remember correctly.
Bandcamp,
Idol pays more than, but yeah, like buying it directly from an artist, even at like I have Apple Music just through my phone plan, you know, and it's like, yeah, I'm not going to act like I don't stream a bunch of stuff on Apple Music. Most of what I listen to is, you know, Harvey Danger, a band who I have, I think 3 different copies of their first album, 2 on CD, 1 on vinyl. They're putting out their second one on vinyl for Record Store Day this month. And it's like, I don't think I've ever gone to a record store on Record Store Day, like other than like, oh yeah, I happen to be downtown in some city on that day and I have time to kill before a show. Let me go see what they have. But it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to line up because I got to get the King James version on vinyl.
Right.
Where it's and
they've added so much joy to your life that you got to keep paying.
I've bought the physical copies of those things. So now if I stream Harvey Danger through Apple Music, they're getting literally almost no money, but it's a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And if they're not losing money, and it's like, well, I could just put the CD on, you know, but
I think we got to make it socially acceptable for people to just Venmo you out of the blue, you know, like my wife and I are trying to do Patreon for our podcast. And like, we have like some really loyal listeners, people who love us, but nobody is signing up yet. And we're just like, how the fuck do we make it very clear to people that like, we would like to receive something, and it could be a tiny amount for the work we do. And like, yeah, like I should there are some bands that I know aren't big. They're probably living a very similar life to like we live with comedy, like kind of scraping it together. And I'm like, yeah, I should send them a $10 Venmo, you know, just something.
I mean,
so do you mind, Patrick? I wanted to find out more about. No, I wanted to find out more about Patrick's special because I didn't know you had one coming out. And being a parent and the podcast that you have, what has the road been to putting together this special and the narrative? Like, what's the narrative structure of it? How do you feel about it now that it's coming out, and kind of that comic's life of working so hard up until this point, and then once it's out, where do you then go from there?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. The special is called Qualification, and it's coming out on Amazon and Apple TV on April 22nd. And a qualification, when you're in a 12-step program, is when you sit in front of the room and you tell your story to the people at the meeting. And I named it that because it's all about mental health, alcoholism, addiction, and what life is like before and after you get sober. And I put it together because I have this college show that I mentioned I developed in therapy with my art therapist. I would tell her, hey, I'm doing stand-up. You know, I have all this material about drinking. My friends think I should make like an educational show for colleges. And she's like, well, what would that look like? And blah, blah, blah. In 2018, in the fall, I started traveling, doing college shows with this like cautionary tale, like PowerPoint presentation, half funny, half educational show that would be an hour and a Q&A. And I got a college agent doing that. And I think I've done 100 colleges since fall of 2018. And I never loved it. I was never like, this is a banging show. Like, makes me feel good every time. Like, you guys know, like college shows can be miserable. They're often low attendance. And because I was doing this thing where I was doing it as a presentation, it was like I felt like I had to satisfy all these like informational points and like make sure I was delivering to the administration what was promised, which is like, yeah, I'm going to help these students know that you have a mental health center and people they can talk to if they need it and blah, blah, blah. And so like 2 years ago or like a year and a half ago, my buddy shot a special. And I remember thinking, why is he shooting a special?
My guy. Half the roster of Circus Trapeze Records is there because I did my album and they're like, well, if Glenn can do one.
Yeah. Well, and I just was like, why the fuck aren't I just doing this? And then I started talking to my therapist about it. And I was like, if I took just the funny parts of my college show, it would make a cool little special. And I could make it on this one theme, And so I didn't know when or how I was going to shoot it. And I had some, in 2023 and 24, something that started happening was like I was getting more and more like brewery and winery headlining shows and like Sea Room headlining shows. And I was like, I had that turning point where I was like, oh, I know how to kill for 60 minutes if I have to, like in these alternative spaces.
Right.
And I'm like, I should be I should be a headliner. And I was like, I got to just shoot this special. If this guy who I think is fine is doing a special, he's self-shooting it, I should just do it. I didn't know where to do it. And then I got asked to perform at a recovery conference, like a 12-step conference. And I've done those for years now, and I love them. And they were like, we want to have you back, but we can't pay this time. And I was like, well, can we trade? Like, could I bring some cameras? Which messes with the anonymity of it all. But I was like, if I bring some cameras, I can like not show the audience and I could make a thing for YouTube. Like, I just kind of want to shoot a special all about my drinking material. Could I do that there? And they were like, we're going to talk about it, but you have to promise not to show the audience. And I was like, okay. And then like a week later, they were like, yeah, you can do it. We're all good with it. Just really don't show the audience. And so I brought 4 cameras. Like, actually, I think I brought 6 cameras, but 4 really good cameras. And a buddy of mine who's sober, I was able to get him to come help me shoot it. And he's like a very talented cinematographer. So it was literally me and him setting up cameras in a room. I brought my good audio recorder and several mics. And we self-shot one show. I went on the show started at like 11 at night. I went on at midnight. It might have been after midnight that I went on for a room full of young people in recovery who were all hopped up on Red Bull and coffee and horniness for each other. Because like sober people, young people like go to these conferences and they like just stay up all night every night and they have an amazing time. And anyway, it was a great, great show. I only got to do one take. I think I did a 55-minute set, but I ended up cutting out a lot of it just to keep it tight and keep it only the good stuff. And I wanted to save some jokes for the next thing. So it's only 34 minutes long, which I have like shame about saying out loud to other people with specials and accomplishments.
No.
But so it's cool. I think it's a unique thing. It's like in this alternative space, it don't look that great. It sounds great. The crowd was great, but it's like a hotel ballroom. So it's just like this weird curtain. I'm thankful I remembered to bring some like colored LEDs that I just splashed off the back. I have some spotlights on me. The spotlights are all from above. So there's like a mic shadow on my chin the whole time. But I'm like, you know what? I'm proud of this. I made a thing. It's out there. The people who are putting it out, it's going out through Comedy Dynamics, but it's interesting. Like I edited and mixed it. I did everything myself. It was done by like July or probably even June. And I was like, I should just put this on YouTube. And then some people helped me connect with like a proper label and and now I'm just like, should I have put this out a year ago?
It's hard to sit on creativity. That's I mean, we obviously have that. One of the best things about doing stand-up, and I've tried to explain this to other people, where having work in film and stuff, and I'm a very quick creator where I will write something, wear a lot of hats. So that gives
comes really fast.
That gives me the flexibility of post-nut clarity. Like I get really excited about something.
Yeah.
I'll squirt real quick, and then I'll just be like, what was that? I don't care anymore. Get away from me. I'm tired.
I'm glad you bring that up because
we were on tour. He's like, "Can you step out of the room for 45 seconds so I can jork it real quick?" I was like,
and you're like, "What do you need 45 seconds for?" Because you're like, "I know you only need 20," and I'm just like, "Yeah, but I'm trying to
foreplay, baby, foreplay."
Yeah,
I love that you guys are shacking up in the same room. I mean, of course, that's what we got to do for the.
When you're in Florida,
operating on.
Yeah. We were in the hot tub together doing a production call one day. And I was bitching about how the bar, talk about opposite of sober, when I was in Florida without my twin 1-year-old boys and my 5-year-old daughter, I was bitching about how when we were in the hot tub at 10:30 a.m. that the tiki bar wasn't open yet. So I could enjoy a margarita. Not that I needed it, just to set the ambiance of what I wanted. But I'm a creative that I love being excited about something and be able to put it together real quick, whether it's a film. I don't like to sit on ideas very long because I am also someone who has 1,000 ideas, but I know that if something stands out, that is what I should put my time and energy to make it come to fruition. With stand-up, I love driving to a show, come up with a joke with a friend, and knowing the best way to present it is to not open with it. I know they're like, but you'll forget it. But that's the biggest, pitfall of a comedian. I know where to put it in my hour set or whatever. But I still get that excitement of being like, I'm going to say something that I just thought of like an hour ago.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So yes, sitting on it, not releasing it yourself in July. You'll never know. You'll never have that alternate of just like, oh, and then if it doesn't do any numbers on Comedy Dynamics, like, so I released Glenn produced my first album, Spitting Image. My second album, World's Greatest Dad Participant. I went through Comedy Dynamics because I was like, oh my God, it's going to sound great. Even though Glenn's sounded great, but I was like, the validation of having Comedy Dynamics release it. At the end of the day, I make no money from that Comedy Dynamics album. Right. I still make money from Glenn's. And it didn't get me any more views. But what it did give me was, it was really cool. Someone in Georgia was just like, I just bought your album at a Target. And I was just like, And I probably wouldn't have had that. But so again, you're going to have something through this release with them. There's going to be pros and cons.
Yeah.
But you did it and it looks the way it is and it is what it is. And then you'll be on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That makes me feel hopeful.
I don't think there's like a right answer to it. I always skew just towards doing stuff myself, putting it out once it's done. Even I was working as a writer years ago for a website, and they would like schedule posts to be released.
Geeko Systems.
That's the one, baby.
I love the name of it.
My editor would be like, well, we have to schedule posts to go at like intervals throughout the day. It's like, why? It's the internet. It's done. Just put it up so people can read it. Yeah. And then they fired my boss, and then I was the boss all of a sudden, and it's like, we're not scheduling posts anymore. When it's done, it's live. Like that's what we're doing. And then we got merged with another site, and then they did the same thing with scheduling posts, and I was like, why though? Like, can you give me a reason? Can you explain
algorithm
why?
Time of day, views, so things don't get lost into the ether.
The argument was like, well, people have like this tab open while they're at work, so they like seeing stuff go. I'm like, do you have evidence of that? Can we call that person?
No,
and be like,
but it's the same as Netflix and the Russo brothers spending $340 million on a Netflix movie that you will never be able to see the metrics of if it's a success or a fail, and that's what we live in now.
But you've got 4 writers on a website all working on an article at any given time. When they're done with that article, it goes up. Stuff will come out over the course of a day. No one's setting their watch on Geeko System time. They're like, oh, it's 11 a.m. We got to go see what hot new comic book news just dropped.
Okay, but you know the answer. You know the answer to this. Why is it important that Daddy-O releases every morning on a Friday before people drive to work? Why do we do that? You know the answer.
But that's a different.
You're asking the same exact question, and it's the same exact answer. No, it's because we live our lives. Friday? We live our lives on timetables, And the probability of someone seeing it, if you release it on a time schedule, that's why you can Google when is it best to post on TikTok, and it will give you a breakdown of when it looks like it's the best.
Different animal.
It's not.
Yeah,
it is the exact same thing. It's the
it's
reason
not.
why you program television, like a TV guide exists. What are you talking about? It's the same exact thing.
No, it isn't.
They know when to go to a thing.
You are so
when something will be
about a lot of stuff.
I love listening to you guys argue. This is
but okay, Patrick. If a website releases something at a certain time, a certain story, and it's by the same author or it's on the same subject of a certain thing, don't you have anticipation and you look forward? There's the difference between binging a complete series that is released all in one day, or an article, or a song, or an album, or a movie.
I'm definitely, there are a couple podcasts that like I look forward to when I know that one's coming out. White Lotus, I'm obsessed with right now. So like Sunday nights feel important to me to like be ready to watch. I'm tuned into the timetable.
My point with the Geekosystem post is nobody's like, all right, Friday at 11 a.m. That's when Glenn's
you feel that way.
No, it's just
you
not the
feel
case.
that way.
Because
you cannot
post the same kind of post every on a set schedule.
But you
just
cannot
whatever we were posting today. Shut up.
Right.
It's whatever we were posting on any given day got spaced out evenly throughout the day. It wasn't. There were very few recurring things. Like we did a list at the end of the day of all the articles on other sites. It's like, hey, we would have loved to have time to write this up, but we didn't. So like you can go read it somewhere else. It would just be like a links post. That every day at 5 o'clock, that went up. That I understand, right? That goes up at 5 o'clock. But if I'm writing, hey, how much money could you theoretically win in a single game of Jeopardy? No one's going to be like, all right, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. That's when Glenn does an article where he answers a question. Nobody actually asked him. He was just thinking about it instead of doing what we asked him to do. And like, if that was a thing, I understand why that should be the same time.
But that is self-deprecating. If I'm a fan of Geekosystems, the website, and I know at 4 p.m. every week, doesn't matter who the author of the article it is, doesn't matter what the content of the article is, I can go there and there will be new material. There will be new things for me to ingest from this website that I like very much. It gives me ownership almost of this thing that I am a fan of, because I can go there and get that serotonin of that new thing that will be released.
Gross.
And people want that is what Friday mornings. On Friday mornings,
they want
to drive. They want to drive to work and listen to the two of you argue. Like, an old
I mean, look,
couple.
I get it for podcasts, absolutely. Like, my brother and me is a podcast I really like. It comes out on Mondays. A couple months ago, they started putting out, instead of like first thing Monday morning, at noon on Mondays. Mondays is when I go to the grocery store. And for a long time, I would listen to that show while I grocery shop. And then they changed the release, and it was like, guys, you're fucking up my whole day, honestly. And like, it would be insane. I understand it would be insane for me to be like, hey, McElroy brothers, do you guys mind? Can you do it at like 11 a.m. so that I don't have to listen to like half of a Marin episode before I get to you guys while I'm shopping?
I don't have to skip through the first 20 minutes of Marin rambling and promoting coffee. Yeah.
And it's, I understand the consistency, but only for
things that you're not involved in.
No,
because you're an old man yelling at the moon.
No one is like, oh, I don't care what article comes out. There better be an article at 4 p.m. That's insane. No one thinks that. And if anybody would think that, it's me. And I don't think that person exists.
You just gave us an example of how you do that with the grocery store.
But not how I do that. I'm like, oh man, I better go see if Glenn, Ian, and Rollin found anything mildly interesting to share on the internet today.
Speaking of timetables, I'm sorry to do this to you guys. I have to run to my next thing.
Sure.
You're important. I get it.
Will you guys keep recording with me off the air, and then when I download it, I can learn what you really think?
We're really gonna
I had a delightful time. I'm very much looking forward to your special, and I'm not just saying that. I don't watch comedy, but you did without maliciously doing it, I think, or meticulously doing it. You obviously had this thing that you're like, well, I know, but I think both of them they work here. Is you did something that you did not have joy in anymore. That was a business, but you're like, but I still like the comedy that was in it, and then you reappropriated it with a very specific vision of making it marketable. So like so many of us are trying to find our voice and like make each special. Like this is very specific. Maybe it's Glenn Tickle, but it's Good Grief. And it's about this and it's this and it's this, that narrative. I think you did it with something that you genuinely
Ricky, he has to leave. Stop talking.
No, I'm just saying, thank you. Good job. Get out of here.
This feels nice.
I'll say it later when you're gone.
I appreciate the warm shower of praise and a fast jizz. I appreciate both.
Yeah, check out Qualifications. It comes out on my birthday, right? April 27th, you said? No, it comes out 22nd.
Yeah,
my wedding anniversary.
Yeah, it was shot on the 27th of last year.
Nice.
But yeah, April 22nd, and we hired a sitter for this is the podcast. I communicate mostly through Instagram, and I'm on there as It's Patrick Holbert. But yeah, man, this was so fun. You guys are hilarious, and I love this podcast.
Thanks for coming on, man. It's great talking to you again.
I'll invite myself back on sometime.
100%.
We can talk. I was hanging out with your boy Gino last night. We can talk about that next time.
Glenn, he has to leave. He has to leave. Quit opening up tabs.
Dude, I gotta know how it went. Wait, you had a Tuesday show. Oh, was it trivia?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm dying to hear about all of it.
Yeah, I'll send you a message after. I feel like it's a boring story for the pod, but
yeah. No, I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later then.
Maybe we'll talk about it on the next half of the pod. Have a good one, Patrick.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, Patrick.
Now tell the story. Tell the story.
So Patrick recommended me with a booker in Jersey, who put me on one show that had to get moved, and then I have another one with him coming up. But he asked me yesterday. He's like, "Oh, he's like, oh, I think there's a bar near your part of Jersey that's looking to do trivia." He's like, "I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in." And I was like, "Well, it depends, honestly, like which bar and does it pay and how much of my time is this going to take up?"
Is it the booker we use?
No.
Okay. Different booker.
No, and it's so he called me yesterday, and I looked and was like, "Oh yeah," like I knew the place he was talking about. It's like a 10-minute drive from me. I was talking to a guy last year who wanted me to host trivia stuff, but it was all like in bars in like South Jersey. It's like, man, no, like I'm not doing that. I'm not driving an hour and a half to 2 hours to make $70 hosting bar trivia, like
with like the most combative like South New Jerseyan people ever.
But this place is like close, and it's like, yeah, that's a different ask, you know. It's like, hey, and it's gonna be Tuesday nights, so it's like, I'm usually home Tuesday. Like that's a good off night when you are a comedian.
Have you ever done any of the booker that we use together? Any of those Family Feud or game show one? Because like offering those, obviously there are some comedians who could be able to do that or would want to do that.
Yeah.
But the money is never so much so that I was like, I could do that, but there's no way that I want to do that.
It's the same thing. I would if it's close, you know?
Yeah.
Like
if the pay is good enough and it doesn't take a ton of my time or travel, sure, because I like money, but this is not the same as doing a show, as like doing live comedy.
And I mean, even with the trivia stuff, I was like, well, yeah, it's not really comedy, but it's, you know, you need somebody who's comfortable speaking into a microphone in front of a group of people. So get a comic. Like I'm not going to be doing bits, you know, but it's like, yeah, I can address a crowd confidently.
And they didn't expect you to do bits because they didn't know you as Glenn Tickle comedian.
Well, I didn't so this guy, Gino, whose last name I'm blanking on, Gino Palooza is the site. If anybody's looking to have trivia in Jersey, check in with Gino. But he's booked me for some comedy shows, and then he called me yesterday. He's like, I also run trivia if it's a thing you want to give a shot. And it pays a little better than the other guy I was talking to, and it's way closer. but he's like, I'm hosting a game tonight if you want to come like see how it works. Cause like I've gone to trivia, I've filled in for friends who host trivia, and they all run it a little differently, right? So I can't just be like, oh yeah, I know how trivia works, idiot. It's like, yeah, I would love to see how this works. Cause my main concern with the thought of hosting trivia is like, well, what if they start arguing about like who rang in first or whatever? Cause I don't want to have to like moderate arguing drunk people once a week.
Yeah.
But the way Gino was running the game, the risk of that happening is really low. So there's like different rounds where different things are happening. And it's not like, oh, whoever rings in first or whatever. Cause it's a bar,
you turn in your sheet,
shouting.
Yeah.
And it's the way he runs it seems like fairly easy to manage. And he's like, yeah, you have a sound system, you have a mic, just you play some music in between rounds or whatever. Like it all seems pretty straightforward. So I drove down to Colts Neck last night here in Jersey to meet him in person, because we'd only talked online and on the phone. But then also like watch him run this game. Basically, I did win. I did play along, and I did beat everyone's ass pretty handily in trivia. But the one thing I did like was there's prizes, but the prizes are by drawing. So you win tickets in the rounds, and then it's a raffle at the end of the night. So even though I got the most points, I kicked everybody's ass because I'm smart, and I need everyone to know that. I didn't leave with a prize, but one, because I was
you
there,
left
like,
with the prize of success of being better than everybody else.
But the
superiority.
There was one, a friend of mine ran a trivia game that I went to a lot, and our team or one of the other, there was another team, and it was just either we won or they won, and then the other one came in second place. So other teams, I'm like, God, it's got to be demoralizing, if you're rolling up every week and you're gonna lose to either the table of some comedians and their friend who knows everything about music, or a table that is for some reason allowed to be one team, even though it's like 30 high school students. And it's like, well, yeah, I would stop going, like if the best I can do is third place, I would stop going. But
you would stop going.
I would stop going. Yeah.
You would stop going. Yeah.
I got the thrill of being right. I got the most points for knowing things. That made me feel good. But the fact that I like didn't win a gift card or whatever, I don't care about that. I just want to be correct. That's the real prize.
What's the robot fallacy thing? It's something theory where if you get a robot in a loop, like it'll malfunction and destroy itself. That is almost what I witnessed when we were explaining to you how a timed release schedule happens. You're like, does not compute things in brain gonna
I mean, Geekosystem is gone from the internet, so I can't even be like, well, go look at one day's worth of posts and you tell me how you think this should be organized on a timetable. It's insane, because like people aren't there because I'm writing it, like
you don't think one person was going there as a fan of what you were putting out.
Was.
Then again, what you say is an absolute that is not true.
Pam doesn't care what time things happen.
What if that was your mom's mantra? Pam doesn't care what time things happen. Yeah. Which I'm still going to make that Gallagher. You never answered. Do you still have in your history the Facebook message?
I was busy doing stuff, something else, and I didn't give a shit. So
if you can look and find it, I'm going to actually.
I will
produce that and make that T-shirt, because I find that humorous, and I would wear that, and I want to wear it to a Daddy-O show.
You vamp for a second.
Okay. I asked Glenn from our last episode with Nick Bruce. We were talking about Gallagher 1 and 2 and a possible third Gallagher that either exists or doesn't exist. And Glenn mentioned when OG Leo Gallagher went down his dark path, Glenn Facebook messaged him, became his friend, and just asked him to make sure that he was doing all right. And if he wasn't doing all right, his old buddy New Jersey Glenn could Could help him out.
I don't have access. I brought him up. I unfriended him after he died.
Yeah. What a cold move.
And it says the messages have been archived and I can't access them right now.
That's sad. I'll still probably make that shirt because I like the idea of like you and Gallagher together, and he's about ready to smash your head with a giant.
You love it.
Mallet and saying "friends until the end" on Facebook, and then his memorial date.
Yeah, so that was again not really a show last night, but just meeting the booker and getting to play trivia and be real smart. I told my wife because I was sitting at the bar before the show or before the game started. I was playing backgammon on my phone, and then this woman came up and sat next to me and then just like kept asking me questions, and I was getting like increasingly annoyed because I was trying to focus on backgammon. And then she like eventually got frustrated and went away, and it was like, oh, I was being hit on.
Oh yes, we've talked about this. Us not being aware that other people would be interested in touching us, or our affection.
So I told my wife about it because it's like, oh, I'm a dumb idiot, and this lady was clearly hitting on me, but I didn't realize it until after I turned her off completely by probably being like a little bit rude.
And asking her straight up, you're like, are you going to talk about the A team? Because if you're not, this is not a conversation I am willing to have.
And
did your wife say to you, you're just like, I get it, Glenn. You're a hot piece of ass.
Yeah.
That when I'm not there, people are just trying to steal you away from me.
Gotta let her know. All these comedy groupies. No, because I was talking to her about whether I'm going to bother doing the autism assessment because the waiting list is literally 2 years long. And it's like, I mean, even the therapist is like, you could do it, but like we can also just kind of assume based on, you know, everything you've said and done the whole time.
He's like, stand in front of this mirror. There, assessment done.
But I was talking to her and I was like, oh yeah, because that's another autism trait is like you don't realize the social situation.
Yes.
Again, just because something can be an autism trait doesn't mean that if you do that, you are autistic.
I just also think that we, based on our years of experience of being interested in people and them having no interest in us, when a stranger approaches you, even of the opposite sex that you might have the predilection towards being sexually attracted to, when they talk to you or hit on you, I just always assume it's someone being nice. I don't ever assume it's someone who's just like, ooh, I want to put things of you in my mouth or on my body.
It was like, I'm just
enjoying a Diet Coke.
I want to be clear. I wasn't like snippy with this woman, but I was sitting there waiting for this trivia game to start so I could like see how the guy runs it. I'm going to play along just because it's a thing to do while that's going on, but I have some time to kill. So I'm going to sit at the bar. I'm going to, eat my tater tots, drink. I got a Heineken Zero, which wasn't very good. I don't know. It's been a while. I like that more places have non-alcoholic beer because it's nice to mix it up from just drinking Diet Coke everywhere I go. But also I'm supposed to drink less caffeine because of the Adderall. And when the therapist told me that, I was like, oh, I had heard no caffeine. He's like, honestly, you shouldn't. But if I tell you don't drink any caffeine anymore, are you gonna? I'm like, no, I'm gonna still do it. He's like, just like less then. I was like, okay, fair. And yeah, I'm like, I just want to sit here and play backgammon. And she's like, oh, hey. I was like, hello. And then back to backgammon. And she's like, oh, you here for a trivia? I was like, oh.
As you're eating your tater tots with a single toothpick.
Yeah.
You're like, hello.
I don't want my fingers to be greasy. And it was a fork. I'm not an animal. But I'm like, oh, I kind of work with this guy. I'm going to be doing trivia at another bar. And she's like,
I didn't ask.
Maybe
she's like, I didn't ask
that. It's pretty far from here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make the trip. And she's like, you play trivia a lot? I was like, I mean, I used to, but it's I got tired of winning all the time.
You're like, God, like when can this conversation end?
I was answering the questions, but like I wasn't asking follow-ups, which I've acknowledged is a thing I do to everyone. I'm trying to get better. But I didn't.
But it's also how we
questions.
It's how we signal we don't want to have a conversation. Like that is fine.
I want to play backgammon on my phone.
Yeah. I am not being paid to talk to you right now, so I don't want to do this.
And it's like, well, I'm not going to be like, ew, leave me alone. It's just like, I'll be polite-ish.
Was she attractive?
Sure. Not. Yeah, I mean, look, my wife was never in any danger in this situation. That's why, I texted her immediately after it happened, because it wasn't like, hey,
I'm a good boy.
I know it's been almost 20 years, but we gotta call this off because this lady whose name I didn't even bother asking.
She bought me an extra basket of tater tots.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, I'm sure it's happened other times that I've just genuinely not been aware of it, that somebody else was hitting on me. But there have only been a few times where it's like, oh, I very clearly understand what is happening here. And it's like, I mean, no, thank you. But, you seem nice. I did a New Year's show a couple years ago, and there were two very beautiful women talking to me after the show. And they're like, oh, are you doing anything after? I was like, well, it's 1 a.m. So no, I'm going to go back to the hotel and go to bed. And then they were like, oh, what hotel are you staying at? Maybe we can hang out there. I was like, no, I would probably just go right to sleep. But they were computer science majors at Penn State. And I was like, oh, because it was around the time I was doing the Toy Bato programming stuff. And I was like, I'm genuinely excited to talk to you about TensorFlow, but we're not going to a second location. But it's like, I'll hang out and we can talk and have a nice time. But
because there's also two of them, and there may be even part of your brain, even if you're not clocking on the flirtatious nature or what the motives are, you're like, second location with two strangers. This is how serial killings happen.
Yeah. I think that was honestly probably the thought I had before. Oh, these women are kind of into me right now.
And there could be a three-way like that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they're trying to murder me in the nighttime.
That's with their vaginas, right. With the snoo. They're trying to murder me. Little do they know I would murder them because I'm Glenn Tickle and I have a massive dong.
Yeah,
they would not be able to handle it.
Thick boy. And yeah, so that was my night last night, doing trivia, getting hit on by. I mean, she seemed like a nice lady. I don't want to make it seem like.
No, you don't have to apologize for what you're saying about this person you'll never see again or ever hear this podcast. When I first was going on the road, probably about 2017, where I realized your success or the amount of shows you do doesn't need to be relegated to the 30 miles around you, waiting to be asked to be on things. I mentioned this briefly on the last show about the Rebecca, I think was her name.
I was going to ask that as a follow-up.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just say book your own shows out of state. Figure out places Patrick was mentioning, breweries, wineries, whatever. You can trick quote unquote people if you have experience and you have some clips to pay you a little bit or work out a door deal at shows all around and get outside of the bubble, because sometimes that helps and that's needed for you, for your confidence. You can have just as many bad shows outside of the state as you can have inside. But before I was leaving for these weekend shows in 2017, my wife and I were newly married 1 year. She was like, hey, don't sleep with anybody on the road. And I'd laugh. And then it happened a couple more times on different weekends. And about the third time she said it as our departing kiss goodbye, I said, wait, this is the third time you've said it. Do you actually is this our dialogue? Is this our script of this thing that you say before I leave? Right. Or is it an actual reminder?
Right. Is this a fun little bit or is this a genuine concern?
Yes. And she's like, well, and this is big Ricky. This is 350-pound Ricky. She's just like, you're funny. You're charismatic. You're doing these shows. People are drinking. You got a hotel. I'm not there. She's not saying that that's the reason you would. She's like, but I could see circumstances, enough confluences of events happen where that could happen. And I just want to remind you, I hope you do not. And I said, 1, I won't. 2, nobody has ever wanted to have sex with me after hearing me do funny voices and talk about you for an hour. So rest assured, I'm not saying this is a worry you shouldn't have or can no longer have, but that is not a thing that I've ever wanted to do or would put myself in those situations, or like what you just said, Glenn, would ever think about. There was a show at a winery in Indianapolis that we were doing regularly, and 2 hours away. So I would go do that show and come back home that night. One of the bartenders there, after about the third show we had done, was just like, "Well, you heading back now?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And she's just like, "Well, we go to this bar here that's nearby if you want to come by." And she's like, "I don't know what I'm going to get into afterwards, but that's where I'm going to be next." And I was just like, "Okay, like, no, like, bye. You got to go home." But yeah. I was like, "I don't want to do that. I got to drive." And then like I got in the car and like hit the road. I was just like, "Oh, that might have been flirting."
Yeah.
I just don't. It's just I'm not open to it or interested, and so it's a little bit. Yeah, could it be autism? Could it be like whatever social constructs? Like, yeah, it also just is like I'm just not open to that, and so if we're having like, conversations
I'm not
at one
out
location,
there looking to flirt with anybody. So
yeah.
when it is happening, it's like, oh, this is like so far down my list of interactions I'm interested in having right now that a lot of the time I don't clock it. But it's like, yeah, I mean, as comics, there's a lot of jobs where like you're on the road a lot, and I think comics in particular, like, well, we have to be on the road and be charming professionally. So I understand how that might be a concern for like a comedian's partner being like, yeah, like you're on the road a lot, and same thing, like your wife's just like, you're in a hotel room in a strange city, I'm not around. And it's like, yeah, but I mean,
the list of things I am gonna do because I am by myself in a hotel room,
yeah,
like dumb snacks, dumb TV, like movie,
sure.
Like there are so many other things that I'm going to do that I prioritize.
It's like I'm in a hotel room on the road, eating an amount of pizza you would comment on if you were there. You'd be like, the whole the all of it, or like
I'm eating deviled eggs from a gas station, so who knows like, what this night is gonna be.
I mentioned like I bought a Steam Deck the end of I think 2023.
The Raspberry or whatever.
No, it's like a big video game handheld thing, and it's like, well, I'm gonna be traveling a lot, and I had some flights which I never like, or it was before I did the cruise, and it's like, yeah, I'm more than happy to just sit in my hotel room playing a video game. Like I'm so thrilled. Like as much as I love my kids, the thought that like I can just play Baldur's Gate 3 for 4 hours uninterrupted.
You can be selfish and
I
make
can
bad
leave
choices.
The setting on where everybody gets their butts out. In the game Baldur's Gate 3, you can have people be naked, and it's like, yeah, the fact that I don't have to like be constantly looking over my shoulder, be like, all right, hold on, I think a naked part's coming up. Is a 6-year-old about to run in here? It's like that's wild, man, Glenn. You know, like when I'm out traveling, really getting nuts with it, it's like, yeah, I'm playing a video game and eating pizza in the hotel room. Like that's
and also nothing is less attractive than doing a show, coming off stage and being able to like shut down that version of ourselves. Like we've talked about not necessarily loving talking to people afterwards because of the expectations of what they want.
Or before for that.
But like, okay, like then you think I want to keep up that facade and be interested in somebody else to then go back to the hotel room and then me. Yeah, like I would much rather go back with my opener, grab some gross food from a gas station, and then deconstruct the show and the weird things
hang
that
out and talk to the other comics.
Yes,
that's a good time, you know, unless they're bad. But
yeah.
You know, for the most part, I did a show up near Erie, PA, and a couple of the audience members were like walking out at the same time as me, and we're like really talking up what a good time they had. And they're like, oh, we're going to this bar across the street if you want to come hang out. And I'm like, well, it's pretty, like, I drove up there, the show ended pretty early, and it's like, well, it's early. It was like a, let's say 7 p.m. start. I don't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It was like earlier than a typical show. So like show's over, it's like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, I should probably like try to interact with other people rather than just go right to sleep. So I was like, yeah, I'll meet you over there. I got to go put my, I had the merch bag and stuff. Like, let me go throw this in the car. I'll meet you in there. The walk over to my car, I had a migraine aura, which is where you see like weird lights. And then then when you see that, it's like, all right, migraine's coming. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh no, I just got in my car and went back to the hotel room. And it's like, those guys they might realize an hour from now I never came back, but they're not gonna be like, that dickhead, or like, they're not gonna send me a mean email that I blew them off. They were just being polite. And it's like, I felt bad letting them down on the drive back to the hotel. It's like, I can't be in a bar in Erie and like get hit with a migraine and be unable to drive myself to the hotel room.
I did the exact same thing. At the Nashville, the Story Inn, like I said, they have a bar underneath their main general store thing called the Tavern, and I wasn't feeling that great anyway, and so powered through the show, was wearing my suit, and then went next door to the Tavern where Kim, my opener, was there hanging out, and he loves talking to people after shows. Like the show's the excuse to like hang out with people after. Great. Because audiences love him for that, and it would
be great to have like an opener handle
that
part of it.
Yes,
and because then
we are neither of us are that.
Yeah,
you're
better at it than I am, but I like neither of us want to be doing that.
That goes from years of meeting celebrities like after shows and stuff, and different autographs and whatnot.
Could you do me a favor and ask some of them? I'm going to be starting a new podcast soon. Could you ask all the famous people that you know?
You are the famous people, but I always had the mentality of like, you should work into your brain for people that came and saw you and paid for that. This is for me. I'm not saying for everybody, yes. But like I should add in a half an hour after the show to thank anybody or anybody that wants to meet me, get an autograph, buy something, whatever. Work that into the time that I think the show is. But after this, I went down to that Tavern, and stomach thing was going throughout our house. I barely made it to the show anyway. I just started sweating, and I was like, hey man, you don't have to leave. You're an adult. I'm going to walk across the street to our house they put up. And he's just like, oh, I'll meet you there soon. I was like, no. I was like, you do not have to. I was like, I am good. But then he ended up popping back over. And then, we did the comedian hangout thing of like, we then scrutinized the show, scrutinized the people who came, and, had a fun little time. But yeah, you and if I'm the better of the two when it comes to that, I'm curious to see how these Daddy-O shows go.
I mean, it's on the list of like things I'm trying to get better at. It was like, yes, like I know. And again, the kind of the joke version is like, I'm trying to do all this stuff to be a better comedian, but I realize then I have to be a better person, and that sucks. But it's like, yeah, I should do that just on like an interpersonal level. I should get better at talking to others and being interested in their lives. But the crass business side of it is like, yeah, like that's how you build an audience and like fans and stuff, where they're like, oh yeah, not to try to like purposefully develop like a parasocial relationship with somebody, but if somebody comes and sees you a couple times and you chat for a few minutes after, they think of you as basically a friend at that point. There's like comics that I've worked with where it's like, God, does Mike Kaplan think we're friends? Because like we've done some shows together over the years, like we have bumped into each other, had nice little chats, but like I don't know. And it's like, do I tell people, oh yeah, my friend Mike Kaplan? And it's like, I don't know. I know him. I know he knows me. Yeah. Seems nice. I would like to be a friend of Mike Kaplan, but I'm again, it's just, I don't know when you draw that line.
You're probably friendly, but
sure.
What was the follow-up question you were going to say about Rebecca, or did we answer it?
No, I was just going to ask more advice because I'm probably going to see her on Tuesday, and she bailed shortly after asking that because we went to get food after the open mic, but it was really bright, and she was getting like a headache or something. Like the Sizzling Bites in Bethlehem. Hey, your food's delicious. The lighting is insane in there. It is so bright. For a late night falafel spot, you've really got to get like a floor lamp in there, or so she's not wrong. She wasn't wrong to bail, but it's like I didn't really have time to like give her a better answer than like my usual, like, hey, stick with it, kid. So I'm trying to think of like what is part 2 of that advice?
Part 2 of that advice is literally cold email.
Shows out of town.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think especially because like there's a lot of local comedians that I see that like are only local comedians.
Yes.
And it's like,
same here.
Because you gotta get at it. You gotta get out of the Lehigh Valley sometimes, you gotta go somewhere else. But it also, I think it helps the scene to not only have the same few people on basically every show. Like I don't perform locally that much, which I'll admit is a bit of a luxury of doing mostly road shows. It's like, well, yeah, I have opportunities outside the Lehigh Valley to perform, but when I was starting out, I didn't, like all the shows I did were a pretty short drive from my house. But I'm trying to think of what else to tell people who are trying to get past just doing open mics and
listen to the Daddy-O show
and stuff. Well, obviously listen to Daddy-O.
We have Mike in the chat. I don't know if that's Flincham or not. If you have a question for us or some advice on what a local comedian should do to get more stage time, I'm gonna guess. I have children now, so should I quit comedy and move to a farm?
Yeah,
is it really?
Yeah, that's
it's you. It says Glenn Tickle a few seconds
that's
ago.
A typo. That's somebody else put that, and they just used my name by accident. That's definitely not just a joke about the thing we were talking about earlier.
Well, we're going to wrap up, but we're going to wrap up on positivity, as we always try to. I do think the recommendations are get out of the bubble of if you are a comedian in a local scene and you spend a lot of time thinking or wondering about what the other comics think of you or what the other bookers in your local scene think of you, I highly suggest that try to move away from that and do a string of shows with a couple comedians that you like traveling with, that you could package an hour and a half show where you rotate who is MC, feature, and headliner, and try booking some shows 30 minutes away from where you're used to that have no idea who you are, and tell them, be like, look, the show might not make money. Let's do a door deal or whatever. So you're not out a ton of money from the travel because there's 3 of you who are eating the gas
close
expense.
Enough that it's like, if you whiff, it's not a big financial commitment.
Well, and it's not a big financial. You're not lying to the venue. Venue would be happy to say, be like, look, we'll put together a good show. Got some good comedians who are going to be on it, but I understand, we don't have any credits or whatever. But this is what we can do, because wineries and breweries are like modern day coffee houses. And hopefully there's no, a lot of those places do have some territorialism because somebody's already swooped in and booking it and whatever. But I think that is the best suggestion for me that I can give, to not constantly be in your head of kind of like that, the critic in the back of your head being whoever that person is at that comedy club that's not booking you or giving you the stage time, or those other comedians that you think make you feel small or whatever, less than. Those are my suggestions.
Yeah. I do think it also helps to just set up your own show, even if it is local. I like when I teach the class, everyone, because there's more open mics recently around the Lehigh Valley than there have been, but like not as many. When I was starting, there was one every night within, a pretty reasonable drive. But then during the pandemic, most of them went away. So there's like a couple a week, maybe. But it's like, yeah, any bar with a back room and a slow night will let you do an open mic there. You just got to make some calls, which again, I don't like doing that either. So I understand what it might be harder for some folks than others. But I took over hosting the local open mic pretty quick into doing comedy, because the guy, my friend Jason, was hosting it, and he's like, this is actually kind of far from me, but I know it's like 5 minutes away from you. Like, do you want to just like co-produce it, and like you can host one week, I'll host the other. And then so I started doing that, where like we would switch off, and then eventually he's like, it's kind of a pain for me to get here every week. So he would still come, but it's like, yeah, I could walk to that venue. So it's like, yeah, I'll handle this one. Don't worry about it. I got it. But then having to host it, it's like, well, I don't want to just do the same 5 minutes if I'm the host, you know? And you also have to, it's why I agreed to start hosting the open mic again recently, of like, you kind of have to generate material as the host, and you have to be present and paying attention to the show and the room. And if somebody bombs, you have to like win the people back before you bring the next person up. It's all stuff that it's like, these are all useful skills that I've kind of ignored for the better part of the 15 years I've been doing this. And it's like a fairly low stakes way of, you get yourself more stage time by setting up shows on your own.
And it gets you. So another thing is, you can always be in your head of, you know, it's like the actor that goes in for the audition and they don't get it, and then you're constantly paranoid of just like, well, what was it? What did I say? What didn't I do? What could I have been? And sometimes it's just like, they're not tall enough, or the voice was higher pitched than I want. Like, shit you can't control. Yeah. So there's no reason to think about it. Something that happens with what you suggested, Glenn, of if you put together your own open mic and you have some of these people that you worry might have a perception of you, have them on the show, and then maybe they will see, not that you have to do this because fuck them, but maybe they will see you in a light that they had an skewed version of you, that they now are just like, oh, okay. But again, your primary goal should be to entertain whatever the audience is in front of you, not these other chotch rockets who have made these little cliques that are these shadow committees.
Running a show just on like a base, like monkey brain level, puts you in a place of authority that will make the comics in your scene look at you differently.
For good and for bad.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, oh, you got to do it to trick those idiots into respecting you, but
I did write a book that says how to trick those idiots into respect. Yeah, and influence people.
But I think it helps of like, it also just shows me as, you know, a more seasoned comedian. If you tell me you go to some open mics locally, and then somebody else says, well, yeah, like I go to the open mics, I also run this one, I immediately take that person a little more seriously. Like, yes, you are doing the boring side of this, which shows you are invested in, it's not just a hobby for you.
You can have friends. Yeah, you can have friends that do comedy, but if there's two sides of everybody, there's Glenn Tickle, the comedian that I respect, and there's Glenn Tickle, the person that I respect and enjoy. But if you have someone that you're doing comedy with that you don't respect them as a person, and you don't respect them as their comedian and what they're doing, you do not need to spend time with that person.
Correct. There's a lot of those.
And that is okay.
But I mean, like I said, I saw a couple posts on Threads basically of people complaining again about people who only do comedy as a hobby. And it's like, again, my point is, if you can't compete with the guy who treats it like a bowling league, then you need to get better, not them. And it is, but I think like, if you're willing to put in the actual work of like setting up a show and dealing with a venue and like
producing,
and look, I don't like doing it either, but if you do that, it shows me like, well, you're taking this seriously on some level. It's not just, oh yeah, I'm gonna go get high and do the same 5-minute set for the 400th time and then like hang out with my friends after,
or stumble through it and read it through my notebook or whatever.
It's a fun way to spend time, you know. I'm not trying to denigrate people who aren't trying to make a career out of this, but the people who are, that's who I want to spend time giving advice to, you know. I don't want to help you have more fun at the open mic. I want to help you take this seriously and get better at it.
If we've learned anything throughout these 15 episodes of Daddy-O, is that open mics are not fun. They're not there for your laughs and your ha-has and your chuckles.
I don't know how much of a bit that is supposed to be, but I disagree.
No, I'm kidding.
It is.
I find fun. I find fun in every facet of bad shows, good shows, weird show. Like Kim Sherwood's like two most important things for him are he said lighting and sound. And I'm just like, man, you know what? I like to be heard, but as far as lighting goes, yeah, that might be a benefit, but like it can be a fully lit room, and I understand the psychology of like if the audience is lit or like how that is or the low ceilings and all that.
Yeah.
But
I just applied to the Rochester Fringe Festival in upstate New York or center. I know people in New York, you feel very strongly about what region of New York your town is called. I don't. But I've been up there a couple of times for show. I was on a comedy show at the Fringe Festival years ago. And some of the venues that are like doing shows at the Fringe are places that I've performed. And I think I also applied to the Scranton Fringe Festival again. And I think the format of a Fringe Festival is a great way to like try to build an hour. So when the first times I ran Good Grief as a separate thing were the Scranton Fringe Festival shows of like, this is a chance I can just get to do this hour of comedy a couple of times in a pretty short window. The stakes are pretty low. So let me go work it out there to see if it is worth trying to pursue. So I applied to those two with the thought of like, with this hour based around this list that I'm putting together, like that is less one-man showy, I think, but there's like
a pitchable narrative,
a framework to it. I can explain it in a paragraph. It's not like when anytime you bring up a Netflix special and they're like, oh, this comedian talks about, and then they just pick three random things but it's like, no, this is like, I forget the exact wording, but it's basically like when comedian Glenn Tickle made a list of things he needed to work on to become a better comedian, he realized he had created a list of his character flaws and had to focus on being a better person. I'm like, I feel like that as a pitch makes sense.
But what he didn't realize, there was a dormant gene that mutated that turned him into Super Glenn Tickle.
Yeah. And it's like, well, that's, a pretty succinct, this is what this hour of stand-up is about. It is
in 1972, Glenn Tickle was...
It is essentially just an excuse to tell jokes that I want to tell, but that is how I got to those jokes, in the way of like the original premise of Seinfeld of like each episode explains how he got the material that he does at the beginning. It's like, well, yeah, like I have a lot of jokes about my messed up eyes, because one of the things where it's like, oh, I should really try to be better. How do I do that? Well, if I could look at things better, I think that would really...
Oh, I love that the thesis is that it's not your fault. That you are a broken model. I love that the answer is, so you're like asking these questions like, oh, I realize that to be a better comedian, got to be a better person. But I then love that like the bitchy side of you is just like, but it's not my fault. I'm a broken model. Like if I wasn't put together this way, it's so defensive.
Of it is like, yeah. So I went to the eye doctor first, like that. It's like, all right, yeah, I think to address any of these, I need to be able to
you did it literally from like the top down.
Yeah.
You're like, my eyes. I am in this machine of this body. Like if this was fixed, maybe then it's a trickle down thing. Or it starts here, it'll then go to my brain and then work its way down to my mouth.
Eyes first, then it was address the ADHD, and then doing that, it's like, I think I'm autistic actually. And then now it is like, well, God, is it worth sitting around for 2 years to find out what I'm pretty confident. And I've talked to a lot of autistic people about it, and they're like, no, man, you're totally valid to like self-diagnose.
You said the only reason you actually want the actual seal of approval is so you don't feel guilty about talking about it in your stand-up.
I would feel more comfortable doing some of the material if a doctor would tell me that I am autistic.
Yes.
But again, and I don't mean like not in the, oh, I'm trying to get away with like, oh, I want to make fun of autistic people, and if I find out I am what I can, it's like, well, no, it's still like about my experience exclusively, but it I don't know, it still feels weird. I don't know. I don't like speaking for groups of people, full stop. Like I very rarely I can't think of a single joke where I was like,
unless you're speaking for a full group of people that are dedicated to a website that they know there's a timetable of certain releases. You'll speak for all of them because there's nobody in existence.
But it's like, yeah, I don't do jokes where I was like, oh, well, like men think this. It's like, well, yeah, I'm a man, but most of the other men I know do not think about things or behave the way I do. So I don't like that. Or like even husbands or white guy. Like I don't know. Here's how I do it. I am a husband white guy, but I don't.
The only thing we can always speak to, and we can speak with conviction or passion or a character or whatever, and that can get tricky, is perception. We have a perception. We have an understanding of our perception, and that is we are trying to distill in a humoristic way our representation of said perceptions. So you are perceiving how others perceive you, and that poster that you sent me for this show, I hope you move forward with it, because even though it gave you an ick factor, I think that is what is working for it, and that is what is baked in.
I'll throw it up on the Daddy-O Instagram at some point probably. Okay. I mocked up a poster because I needed an image to send with these Fringe Festival applications, and it is an old photo of not old. I think I shot it around the time of World Crime League, and it like just the stance fit how I wanted to frame the text on the poster. And you're like, oh, I like that picture. I was like, I look like a smug genie because I'm standing there smiling with my arms folded. So
but it works with the name of the show and the layout. The rest of it,
I don't think that's the final photo for the.
I think you're gonna be chasing dragons to just recreate, and you're not going to be able to capture the same feel. You could.
I mean, part of it is like I would rather have a newer photo than that.
Yes, the current Glenn.
Like that's the outfit that I used for like promo stuff around Crime League. So it's like, well, yeah, even just have different clothes in it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm delusional, but like I think basically any photo of me at any point in my stand-up career looks roughly the same.
Yes.
I don't think I've changed that much over the 15 years. Like maybe like early days, I look a lot more baby faced, but it's like
bow tie Glenn.
I'm trying to think. So the picture in the Daddy-O logo on screen right now, that is from like 2017. But I think it's fine. I don't think it's not like, oh, I don't look like that anymore. I have roughly the same hair and beard. Maybe the hair is a little thinner. Maybe I've put on a little weight. I don't know, but it's like.
I like that you put the word maybe in front of each one of those. You're just like, hair is thinner. I put on weight.
Like, definitely hair thinner. The weight thing, I mean, I'm pretty consistent.
Yeah, probably a fluctuation of like 10 pounds.
Yeah, there's like a ceiling on it where I get a little uncomfortable, and then it's like, well, I'll go for more walks, and then like, but it is not. It's not like, oh, I gotta slim. I'm filming a special. I gotta slim down. It's just like
I gotta kill that fatty.
I like it when my pants fit, you know, and I don't want to buy new pants. Like that's the extent. I've always been roughly the amount overweight that I am now.
Oh, putting on my suit this weekend, like I said, when I wasn't feeling well, and we had that stomach bug going around the house that got everybody in the house with projectile vomiting, was awesome. And I was just like, well, I can't not do the show. It's a benefit charity show. And I don't feel great, and nothing's coming out on my backside or my top side, so I need to go do it. But when I put on my suit, I put on my belt and like was able to get to a hole that I hadn't been to before. I was like, man, this feels nice. It's like, oh, it's because I've had a stomach virus. For 3 days.
Well, that's so the main side effect that I've been having with the Adderall is appetite loss. Like I've just not been hungry since I started taking it.
Oh, and darn.
I was talking to the nurse practitioner when we were doing the update the other day, and he's like, oh, have there been any side effects? I was like, it's mainly just like I've not been wanting to eat. He's like, have you been eating? I was like, oh yeah, definitely. But it is
different side effect entirely of like, I project this being that comes out of me and tells me that I can't eat and hides the food from me. And they're like, oh, we need to add that to the commercial side effects.
Yeah, we got to address that one. But no, it's like, well, I know I eat more than I should anyway. So this is honestly probably a net good. And the example I used was like the other week, Wednesday night, I ordered pizza for me and the girls because we had like a busy night getting around to like after school stuff and sports practices. So it's like we got a pretty narrow window. I don't feel like trying to cook in the 45 minutes we're going to be home. So I'm going to order pizza. So we did that Wednesday night. And then like Friday morning when I had that appointment, I was like, there's still pizza in my house. And he's like, okay. And I was like, no, but normally there's not. Like if I order pizza Wednesday night, maybe there's some Thursday at lunchtime. It doesn't make it past Thursday at lunchtime. It's like, it's my favorite food. And it's like, well, yeah, I eat it because I'm hungry, but also like pizza's so good, you know?
Pizza's good. Even bad pizza's good pizza.
I did, but it's like, yeah, well now like I'll eat 2 pieces of pizza and it's like, well, yeah, that's enough to have right now. I'm not hungry anymore. And it's like,
isn't it wild?
Yeah, but it's like, well, that is probably the correct amount to have. Like, it's not bad that I don't want to eat 6 pieces of pizza right now.
I threw away a carton of ice cream because it had been in there for a long time and I had actually eaten some of it. It wasn't like there is a little bit of that. Like if it's here, then there's,
sure,
a more likelihood of eating it. But I threw it away because like it's been here for so long. I've enjoyed what I've wanted to enjoy of it. Like if I eat this, it's not going to be because I enjoy it. It's going to be because it's here.
Yeah.
And I just need to get rid of it. And so
stuff like that has been easier to just kind of like, oh yeah, like I don't need to have ice cream for dessert right now. I'm not actually hungry. It is just like, oh, because I like having a thing before. Just, whatever. Just go to sleep, idiot. And also,
wait. Do you have a Mr. Mixelplick or the Great Kazoo who is outside of you telling you to go to sleep, dum-dum?
Yeah. He just
because that's a different side effect.
He follows me around yelling at me.
Oh, jeez, cling.
But, I know. So I've been bringing up the Adderall the last couple of episodes since I've started taking it. I just want to be clear. I'm not saying like, oh, Adderall kicks ass. Everyone should take Adderall, especially because we had Patrick on and he's got a whole show about addiction and stuff. What I do recommend is like, go like it's the jerk thing, see a doctor and get rid of it. Like go talk to somebody about your issues and get them addressed. That is what I'm advocating, not just straight up everyone should take Adderall because it's incredible. It is
what you're advocating is communication.
Yeah, it is helpful for me, a guy with ADHD, to take this thing. I just want to be clear that I'm not like, especially because I've been again watching. I'm almost done with my A-Team rewatch. I'm grinding my way through season 5, but I've been watching like some Mr. T ancillary material on YouTube, and it's like a lot of like because he worked with like Nancy Reagan for Just Say No, and it's like. Yeah, I feel like I just don't want to come across as a guy who's like trying to convince people to take Adderall.
I don't think you have to worry about being the poster child of being like Adderall fixes everything.
Yeah, especially because it doesn't. Like it's been an improvement, like yesterday I was working on the stuff for the Sweetmeats album and managed to like sit here at my computer for a couple hours, mainly focusing on that. Like I took a couple breaks, but it wasn't like I wasn't finding myself with another tab open doing something completely different for 45 minutes and then like, oh, right, no, I got to go back and finish that thing.
You had a thought that before having the Adderall, you're just like, I don't like that this is what it takes to complete tasks. I would like to be able to be more focused, and I think it's beyond my control. So you went to someone, you talked about it, and then it didn't completely rectify the situation or make a cure, but you're like, oh man, this assistance did help me with this thing that I did not like not being able to accomplish.
And I had the first appointment with this guy, the conversation, he's like, well, like, what are you looking to get out of this? And I was like, I genuinely don't have
bitches and money.
I'm like, I don't have a real goal. I'm like, I'm open to medication or whatever else you want to try. But like, here is the problem. You are a professional in this matter, not me. How do I address this problem? And he's like, we'll try Adderall, see how it goes. So for the first 2 weeks, it was a lower dose. So they upped it last week. And now it's like, oh, now there's like a little, I feel it more now in like a way that I don't think I like. So I might bump it back down, but
yeah. And that's I mean, we're going through that with Anna right now, who's going to be 6 in May, and she is diagnosed ADHD, but also maybe has some ODD tendencies. And we've been playing with a different cocktail of things that are, showing some moods in her that have been really difficult, especially in the last month. And so we kind of detoxed her from last week because we had some of our worst nights ever, because she's going to now see a therapist at Cincinnati Children's Hospital on Monday. And we kind of wanted to get her off some of the things that were, again, exuding some wild behaviors that did not seem right with her. And so now she's kind of back to nothing. And so we're seeing these behaviors that were there when we were like, we got to do something about this. And like, my wife and I, like, I took Ritalin as a kid. My wife has depression and takes certain things. So we understand that there is trying out the cocktail and the right amount of dose and stuff. So we're in that world right now. But what's hard is with a 5.5-year-old, distinguishing what is being a 5-year-old, what is having this. She can't advocate for herself or understand like you do. So again, it's so hard because when you talk to anybody about medicating or seeing somebody for your children, they're just like, you may not correctly take that as judgment when they say something of like you being a bad parent, but you know, as a parent, especially with your partner, and if you're a good team, that you are doing the best that you can, and every decision you're making is for the betterment of your child. You are doing the same. You want to be a better Glenn, not just a performer. You want to be the best version of yourself, and so you are going to try to accomplish that.
Well, again, I mean, and that's the joke version of like, yeah, I am trying to do that, but it's only so that I can be better at comedy. But that is truly like the basis of it. Like that one paragraph pitch for the Fringe festivals wasn't like, that's how it went down. It's like,
yes,
I've been doing this for a long time here. Like, here are the areas that I think I am like weak as, like, if it was like a video game, character breakdown of like, here's your strengths and weaknesses. It's like, all right, so like, I don't like doing crowd work. That's like a big thing in comedy right now. Why don't I like it? Why don't I think I'm good at it? How do I want to get better at it? And it's like, well, let me think about that for a little bit. And it's like, well, I don't like talking to the audience because I don't like talking to other people. And it's like, well, why not? Oh, because they're boring. And it's, so then that became the joke about how I don't know what most of my friends do for work. And it's like, well, yeah, like a lot of crowd work is, oh, like, what do you do for work? Why ask them? Who cares? Like, it's the least interesting thing about people is usually what their job is. The kind of mean joke version of that is like, look, if your job was interesting, you would be up here, not me. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. So I started trying to figure out ways I could improve. And then it is like, well, yeah, like you should actually get better at talking to people and being interested in your friends' lives just on like a personal level, not just so that you can sell more tickets, you absolute ghoul.
But this podcast does service both those masters, hopefully, eventually, in some way.
That's the goal, I guess.
Today, when this episode drops, we've mentioned it a few times. It is for April 4th. On April 11th, wherever you stream your music or whatnot, Glenn Tickle has come on board very graciously and is producing the album original motion picture soundtrack to Sweetmeats.
Yeah.
So on April 11th, I will be posting on my social medias today, which is actually Wednesday, April 2nd, about the announcement of that. You can get the album wherever you want to listen to get your grubby little ears to hear those sweet, sweet jams on April 11th. And then probably within the next month after that, there'll be some sort of store that I'll announce on our socials where you can get physical copies, possibly even an LP version.
There should be a link in the show notes where you can pre-order it or pre-save it on whatever unethical streaming service you prefer. It'll be
that we were like, go listen to it on Spotify and give us $0.
Well, that's like the thing I was saying before of like I pulled all my stuff thinking like, oh, everyone's done with this service now, right? But no one else. It was like me and James Taylor, and that was it. And
then, he was like, woke up this morning and I know you were gone.
And it's like, well, then when I was doing Crime League, it's like, I'll just put it back on. Cause like, this is hurting no one but me. I'm not
Spotify, the plans they made, putting into you
isn't being made. It is just stopping me from making the $80 a year or whatever I get from Spotify. So I might as well just capitulate.
I love, in the most sarcastic voice ever, whenever anybody's like, April 11th is Meta blackout date, so no one use your Facebook on April 11th. And it's going to really show them and scare them that when we can unite, we could topple you for good if we wanted to, but we're only going to do it for one day.
Yeah. You got to actually go out there and break stuff. You can't just complain about it.
Yes, Anarchist Glenn. I love Anarchist Glenn.
It's true.
Pick up trash cans.
So yeah, April 11th, the Sweetmeats album. Go pre-order or pre-save it now, and then April 22nd, Patrick Holbert's special qualifications. I think he mentioned Amazon and Apple TV.
Yes,
will be the places to get that. So go find it there. And I don't think I have anything coming up that week.
We got some Daddios. We'll be plugging the Daddios the closer that we get to it.
Yeah, the link for the Daddio tour is in the show notes. Check out the dates. We'll be in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Is there a third state in there?
Just I don't think so yet.
For now.
Hopefully we'll be getting. I'm going to check in with bookers to see. Did you get that email about those Branson dates?
Yeah.
Did you see the email that I sent? It was like, if Glenn's able to do these dates, maybe it's a Daddio string of Branson dates.
I did not see that email, but I'm unavailable for any of them.
Oh, okay. For May 8th through the 10th.
There were like a couple weekends, but I've got stuff.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay. Damn it.
Because I was I think the last weekend was when we're the first multi-day part of the Daddio tour.
I had one weekend that I was just like, man, Branson, Missouri. I was like, if I'm going to go do that, I need to bring someone. I don't want to go to Branson, Missouri.
Right. You want to have a pal.
I want to have a pal. And Glenn was my number one pick, but yeah.
That's what I like about doing shows on the road with people that I know. It does make the hang out and talk to people after the show thing go a lot more smoothly. Or even having, like, I've talked about, the teacher's assistant in the stand-up class. When my friend Craig was doing it, and he's like, well, like, what do I have to do? I was like, man, this is an easy gig. All you have to do is be in the room and be a guy I already know. That's all I need. It's like I've done this class a lot. I know it's just, I'm uncomfortable talking to strangers. So having literally one person that I can turn and address statements to, oh boy, is that useful.
Which it's so funny because stand-up, you're just up there by your lonesome. I mean, the audience is the other person, but
I'm staring slightly above their heads the whole time to avoid eye contact. I've been doing it for 15 years.
Oh, you doing stand-up is like you getting a blowjob. You're like, I don't want to look you directly in the eyes. Like,
no, that's intense eye. That's unwavering eye contact.
Well, I would be like, look, if we stare at each other for too long, this is going to be way shorter. So I feel like you're the same way. Like with stand-up, you're like, if I looked you in the eyes, audience, I would just nut, and this would be done.
When they're doing we're doing a mic check and they're messing with the lights, and they're like, oh, we can have like these lights on so you can see the audience. I don't want to see the audience. What are you talking about?
No. Please. No. They don't want to be seen either.
Yeah. It works better when they don't think you can see them. Absolutely. But it's also like, I genuinely don't want to.
I did. Final thing before we go. The show I did this past weekend, it was like a shotgun room. And there, I was up there for a good 25 minutes until there was a back portion of the room that I didn't know people were sitting because I could not see. And then there was a big burst of laughter for something that I said 25 minutes into my set. And it really threw me off because then it made me question. I was just like, wait, there's people back there? I was like, I didn't know people were back there. And then I was like, wait, you guys have not been laughing for 25 minutes and that's the thing that made you chuckle? I'm like, now I'm feeling really like self-conscious up here.
Right. Why is that the first thing you responded to? You
yeah.
Absolute lunatics. Yeah, but I think that's it. Check the show notes for all the plugs that we mentioned. And we are gonna go ahead and get on out of here.
Bye.
It's the Daddy-O Show.
Another successful episode of Ear Pleasing.
Hell yeah.